Valmore. Bound longsword spell. Galval Andrano. Mashed by ingredients. Get impatient. Compromise integrity. Stack ingredients in inventory. Make 8,000 potions. Recall. Sell 62 potions. Max sale. Rest 24 hours. Sometimes script. Sometimes fauna or rat. Fail casting a 60% cast chance spell 4 times in a row, at least 5 times over the entire process. Scripts multiplying at prodigious rate. Not my problem. 113 days later, millionaire. Took about an hour. In retrospect, if I'd gotten an amulet of Home City or Divine Intervention, I should have used it and then waited 24 hours in town, and then used the amulet of recall to avoid continually spawning enemies by resting in the wilderness. Since it doesn't use magic that it casts, and enchanted items regenerate charge over time, then you could do that continually without needing magic potions. But getting those amulets requires doing a quest chain. Would probably not have saved time. And you do have to fight one scam to get the amulets, so combat is unavoidable. And with that, a new dawn rises over Millionaire. What does the future hold for this fashionable, self-made man? Not a bruise on his skin, not a hair out of place. Surely, he will rise to the ranks of House Folly. You know what? There's a guy I know who is looking for 1,000,000 gold. Let's go see him. Gaynor is a beggar in the temple courtyard who begs for increasingly large sums of money. His final request is 1,000,000 gold. Publisher's clearinghouse. So, yeah. He's programmed to not take your 1,000,000 gold. Don't worry, he'll be back in 48 hours as the strongest Bosmer alive. I'm not even joking. Joke's on him, though. I purchased power. A few dozen scrolls of elemental burst shot on the trip. In the grand tradition of Morrowind, Gaynor has something like 60% spell reflect and complete immunity to magic. But there are spells that won't kill me if they're reflected. Let's try some absorb health on touch. Day dropping pretty strong. Let's see if we can go toe to toe with 64th in a row. Yes. Yes, he can. What else we got? The Telbani Enchanter in Nivek sells Atronac and Skeleton Summoning Scrolls. The Atronacs will use a lot of spells which will be resisted or reflected, so Golden Saint Scrolls would be better, but you have to be a high rank in a Vegas guild to get those. A few dozen of these and some skeletons should do. Summons can deal friendly fire in Morrowind. Spacing is important. And easy down. Quick disclaimer, almost everything I know about Morrowind I learned from just background noise. A YouTuber I follow religiously. You should too. Since this video has a lot of overlap with his video on collecting favorite armor, I contacted him for permission before publishing. Love you, buddy. Also, while I was getting ready to finally export this video, which I have been working on for 2.5 months, Juggy beat me to the punch and released a video about the exact same thing. I'm not a hack, I swear. I come up with all my own unoriginal ideas. But I at least covered one game that he did. Speaking of which, now, on to the second easiest. This game's actually so obscure that I basically had to come up with the routing all on my own, as online resources are almost non-existent. I can't guarantee it's the fastest and most efficient route, but it's really quite quick. Elder Scrolls Arena is a game left behind by time. GOG and Steam distribute free playable copies, but the stability is poor and there has been zero quality of life improvements. Character creation is so rudimentary it's almost non-existent, although it's technically still ahead of Skyrim. You pick a race and a class. There are no skills, only attributes in the random dice roll and a handful of additional points to allocate. Your race determines your country of origin and a few more hidden bonuses. I chose a Wood Elf Bergman. For any purpose except exactly what I had in mind, this class is pretty trash. I'm dumping all my points into agility and will continue to do so every time I level up. Playing this game isn't as bad as you might think, but it's a stuttering mess, and the difficulty is severe, for reasons I'll touch on later. The It's really bad in here, and it's not uncommon to be level 4 before you even see the light of day. These raised alcoves let you sleep in them without spawning enemies, but there are always enemies everywhere, and they actively follow you. On my very first treasure pile, I find an adamantium longsword, so we're off to a great start. Is what I would like to say, but even though this is a very high-level weapon, burglars can't use long blades, so this is just weight in my pocket, and it won't sell for much. Without the ability to use magic or any potions to my name, the only way to get health back is by resting. And resting a full health bar back can take as long as 36 hours. Dungeons in Arena can take months to complete. If you've cleared out a hallway, think again. Monsters spawn constantly, even when you're not resting, or at least that's how it feels. Any Arena veterans can elucidate me in the comments. That eldritch knowledge must exist somewhere. Still, as long as you can stay alive, perpetual onslaught is pretty productive. Unlike every other Elder Scrolls game, you can only level up by defeating enemies in combat, which means to become better at, say, picking locks, you have to kill a lot of stuff. The enemies that spawn when I rest could be a pushover, or it could be a battle mage that shoves an artillery-grade fireball directly in my mouth. Finally, I find the exit and make the discovery that the city you start in is somewhat randomized. I did a short test run before I started recording, and was in Stone Square. This is Emperor's Rock, so I need to get my bearings. Not getting lost in towns in Arena and Daggerfall is a massive problem. Both these games could really do with overlay maps like Doom. Most buildings look exactly the same. You could ask for directions though, and sometimes they'll be kind enough to just directly mark the place on your map. After about 15 minutes of scouting, I find a house with an easy lock, a blacksmith, and a tavern, all directly adjacent to each other, and all of them are only 2 doors down from the Mage's Guild. For my purposes, this is beyond ideal. In the process of marking a smithy on my map, I accidentally hit the hotkey to stop recording footage, and didn't notice for about half an hour, but you didn't miss much. I took a trip via the world map to Stone Square and located a shop called the Emperor's Merchandise, where I remember there being an ebony tonto for sale. Ebony equipment is the highest grade in the game, and tonto is just about the strongest weapon in Warcraft. I won't be buying it though, I'll be stealing it. Unfortunately, I'm too low level right now to even save stuff effectively, so I had to be in and buy a room for a few days. I then break into the house directly across the street to begin resting after almost 1 hour. Private property is weird, break into any house and you will run into a random assortment of monsters and humanoids. They're basically coded like dungeons. Rest for even 1 hour on private property and the combat encounter will spawn on you. Because our back is to the door and we can save here unlike a dimensional store, this is our optimal experience run. Spawn enemies start swinging before we even know what's attacking us. And then, if we are too wounded, repeat. When we are too wounded, head back to the inn to rest. I later realized that buying some healing potions from the Mage's Guild could have really sped up this process at a trivial cost of 25 gold pieces each. But hey, I literally haven't played this game before today. Leveling up a few times allows us to finally steal the ebony tonto. It has +5 to hit and to damage, which will really help because I'm about to do even more of the grinding I just did. You've probably guessed by now, but the method with which we'll be making our million-piece pride, stealing from shop owners specifically. Burglars as a class get a special bonus towards attempts to steal or pick locks, a bonus that only D classes have and the burglar has it the strongest. Aside from being influenced by your agility attribute, pilvery, as it's called, is also influenced strongly by your level. The amount of experience points doesn't follow an exponential curve. The multiplier per level actually decreases after level 10, but it still takes specific body part, it deals full damage. Especially for a beam class like this, it's pretty common to die outright in 3 to 4 hits. You rarely even have warning. On top of which, the same system applies to enemies, and you can just whiff a few dozen attacks in a row or land multiple consecutively and stomp them into mud. The result is an inconsistent jumble of dice rolls with any concept of skill removed. It's all statistical superiority and luck. Players who seek to beat the story of the game on its own terms generally tend to favor spellcraft as it ignores a lot of the problems with the armor class system. Well, that's level 9. That should be more than enough. Time for stage 2. We're heading back to that nifty little spot members on. At level 9, as a burglar, nearly maxed out agility, we can rob the mage's guild blind. The chance to succeed and steal from them is almost guaranteed, but not quite, and it gets better if I put on the bracers or belts of agility that I steal from them in the process. When you steal from a shop, you get a random piece of inventory, and that inventory is removed from their shop. Although it refreshes when you leave the area. Chance that nothing happens, but more often than not, all the NPCs disappear and enemies spawn.
Oh.
The law system is almost non-existent, though, so there are no consequences to getting caught beyond these enemies, and they despawn when you exit the current cell. There are 4 wizards in this mage's guild, and they are all a shop on their own. They all carry a single ebony belt, which is worth 4,600 gold. Not an incredible amount of money, but it's free. It will take about 200 to crack 1 million, but I've done worse. Belts of intelligence are worth about 3k as well, but everything else in the drop table is a booby prize. I eventually stopped bothering to sell them and just dropped them on the ground because it's less clunky than the shop interface. These accessories all weigh half a kilogram. Yes, the weight unit is actually specified in Arena of Daggerfall, but due to a bug in the way the game defines carry weight, they actually weigh nothing. But there is a raw numerical limit to how many items you can carry at once, likely a computational limitation of the computers at the time. It might not be glamorous, but it's dishonest work, and not even 2 hours after starting my runs at the Mages Guild, I have my million gold pieces. From start to finish, probably no more than 4 hours. Of course, actually beating the game in this state will be a horrifying proposition, but why bother saving the Emperor when we have the cash to become one ourselves? There is a version of this game where I could go and beat it in about 30 more minutes by using a progress flag, but that's not the version that's freely distributed anymore, so unfortunately, Uriel Septim will remain in oblivion for another internal champion to save. Next up is Daggerfall, and if you haven't tried Daggerfall Unity, I highly recommend it. Super easy install, completely free to play from top to bottom. Daggerfall Unity has done a lot to bring the game into the 21st century, but the crippling difficulty of the combat remains, as does the gauntlet having to escape a dungeon before being able to see the sky. We'll play as a brethren, and our primary skills will be longbow, restoration, and mercantile. Major skills mysticism, medical, and thaumaturgy. Minor skills running, dodging, illusion, alteration, jumping, and stealth. Critical strikes might sound like a strong skill to invest into, but UESP says that all it actually does is roll an additional die to potentially convert a missed attack into a hit. And the odds aren't favorable. It doesn't actually improve damage beyond mildly improving our hit percentage. Increased magery 3 times into spell points is a necessity in this game, and long blade expertise will help a lot by increasing our chance to hit as a function of our level as a percent, and our damage as a function of our level divided by 3. At level 1, this is no extra damage and a single additional percentage to hit. At level 20, 20% extra chance to hit and 6 extra damage. It's nuts. The effects of this are felt mostly in the end game, which is where we'll be spending most of our time. To balance that out, we take critical weakness to poison and paralysis, as well as forbidding iron and steel.
Is Faendal a wood elf?
Material restrictions will suck starting out, but you can bypass steel to dwarven or elven fairly easily, and for armor, you can always use leather and chain. You can also slap on forbidden hand-to-hand, buckler, and axe, which all will not be used for a variety of reasons. I'd add blunt weapon as well, but this is the most disadvantages I'm allowed to add. Another little trick that I use is to lower my reputation with the underworld so that I have a better reputation with peasants, which is handy for getting directions. With all this in place, we can have the maximum amount of possible HP per level and still level pretty quickly. I dump willpower and a bit of agility to pump speed and strength. Willpower modifies damage taken from spells, but it's a 1 to 10% difference that modifies a base 50%, a property that is compensated for by being a threaten. Threatens are overpowered in just about every game except Skyrim due to their ability to shrug off magic attacks. Half-elves, man. Busted in every setting. Once again, we're dropped into a deadly dungeon naked and afraid. It's pretty common to die in the first few rooms. I have an ebony dagger, the weapon given to me by the Emperor because I guess he knew I was allergic to steel. But I have no skill in the short blade, so it's going to be rough. Welcome to Daggerfall. The actual city of Daggerfall is not the best place to make your base camp. If you get stuck outdoors after dark, ghosts will attack you. But it does have all the trimmings of civilization. We have a few spells to make before we can start adventuring, and that requires money. Thankfully, we can take out a loan at the bank, and for once, one we actually plan on repaying. Before we can do anything else, we also want to buy a horse and a wagon. A horse speeds up fast travel and allows you to move about town without spending stamina. A wagon allows us to store up to 750 kilograms of merchandise to carry to a shop to sell. Absolutely vital. The fact that only Daggerfall has the wagon is crushing. Heading over to the Mage's Guild, because I chose a school of magic as a major skill, we can join the guild and begin spellcraft. We need levitation, cure disease, slow fall, heal, cure poison, and perhaps most importantly, free action. Free action is a spell you may be familiar with from Morrowind, but in that game, it actually cannot be used effectively since in order to cast it to cure yourself of paralysis, you'd have to not be paralyzed. But in Daggerfall, you can cast it freely while paralyzed, which is why we took a critical weakness to it in character creation. It's basically free real estate. By making a spell that trains water walking, water breathing, and heal fatigue all at the same time, while only scaling with every 2 levels, we have a very cheap spell to cast that can level 3 disciplines at once, all of which are primary, major, or minor skills. It's actually useful that it's a mixture of all 3 because your level is determined by a selection of the highest skills across all 3 categories. Very efficient. I'll also make a healing spell for genuine usage, but I'll mostly leave it alone. Oh yeah, we need a teleport spell as well. For some reason, the vendor version of this spell is cheaper to make than if I made it myself. Now it's over to the Fighter's Guild, where we sign up and spend a few weeks in the barracks training our skills. Long blade training can be expensive, but it beats getting the first few levels in combat. If you don't have levels in blade, you can't get levels in blade because you never hit anything. A common piece of advice for Daggerfall is to always spend all of your spell points before you rest. Otherwise, you're basically just leaving experience points on the table. Right now, we just need to raise our level in order to increase the materials of the gear that spawns. Daggerfall is highly specific about what materials confirm what monsters, and starting with nothing more than a steel broadsword, you will run up against werewolves and other monstrosities that at least require silver. We want to power level until Dwarven starts to drop regularly, not just so our weapons will be more reliable, but also so that we'll have more expensive food to sell. Leveling up in Daggerfall is pretty janky. The amount of health points you gain per level is random, as is the amount of attribute points that you can allocate. So, it's essential to quick save before every time you rest, so that you can save scum the values until you get something at least favorable. The difference between doing this and not doing this is hundreds of points of HP in a game where you would normally max out at 150. Rather than use crime, this time will be dipping into dungeon crawling. Just a toad, though. There's rarely any particularly good loot deeper into dungeons, and it's most profitable to continually refresh the spawns near the entrance. Once I'm level 8, I decide to get the ball rolling. But I need to spend a bit more of this alone money on some gear. You can save scum at comprehensive shops as well, which bonuses are just different depending on buckler, ground shield, kite shield, or tower shield. Later though, I will get very high armor class helmets, which are way too strong to be ironed, but because they are ironed in color, you can't wear them. Very strange. Shops in Daggerfall are rated on a scale of quality out of 5 states from best to worst. Ironically, what you're interested in the most is the worst shops. It's a bit backwards from what you might initially think, but the poorest shops with the worst gear will pay the highest prices for our products because their skills at bartering are poor. The smithy at Grimhead is a worst quality shop that buys weapons and armor, so we'll be doing most of our business here. I found this place in a casual playthrough, and it's become my mainstay. Part of Daggerfall's gameplay loop, at least for me, is that every time you go to a new town, you scout out all the shops and note their quality in the auto-map for later reference. Once you've found one worst quality smith and pawnbroker, you basically solve this aspect of the game. Actually leveling Mercantile in Daggerfall is absolutely awful, since you can't rest the scores, and any experience gained beyond the current point in that skill is wasted until you rest for 6 hours. Also, you optimally want to sell each item individually as Mercantile XP is doled out per transaction. That level of monotony is just way too much, even for somebody who just stole 200 heavy belts in a row. This is why I wanted to start with the highest possible Mercantile. You won't be leveling it much, especially since skill trainers in Daggerfall cannot train a skill beyond level 50. We do Fighters Guild quests to go kill tigers that have broken into homes until we get a dungeon map. Go encase the joint, and if it doesn't fit the criteria we're looking for, rinse and repeat until we get the gold one. Are you ready for some bad news? Daggerfall is the only Elder Scrolls game in which gold has carry weight. It's physically impossible for a character in Daggerfall to carry 1 million gold pieces at a time. This is why banks exist in this game, and not in any others. In order to get 1 million gold pieces, you'll have to get 1 million gold pieces in balance. And yes, I'm deducting loan from the total. We're going for net worth here. Cash less loan. Out of all the games to grind gold in, this is probably the most straightforward and close to the intended game changer. But it still takes a really long time. And it's at the tail end of doing a lot of monotonous level grinding. The first dungeon I try is called the Theodynac Laboratory. Dungeons are identical between playthroughs, by the way, but you need to get a map to be able to travel to them, or fast travel nearby and then eyeball it from there. This place is basically a wash. It's all undead, which both don't drop here and also carry a lot of dangerous diseases, so this is just not going to cut it. You want to avoid fighting creatures or undead because diseases have an incubation period, and if you catch one and then fast travel or rest, you can just die instantly without warning. It's good practice to use a cure disease spell or potion after fighting the undead, and before you rest or travel, just in case. This is the only Elder Scrolls game where you can reach a dead and walking state, where you are, for all practical purposes, already dead and incapable of doing anything about it, so you have to be really careful with your quick saves. Daggerfall's design is fascinating in that all quests are radiant, and all locations and encounters are procedurally generated, but it's generated from the same RNG seed every time. Every town, every shop, every dungeon will be consistent, but the order in which you're given map pointers and the missions that generate are completely randomized. The second try is the Fortress of Garefield, and I spend more time here than I really should have. There's a lot of human spawns, which drop here, but a lot of them can deal poison, and if it's health-damaging poison, I will die instantly due to the Faustian bargain I have made for increased leveling speed. I also realized that I forgot to actually make that cure poison spell I said I'd need, so I go back to town and make it. Somewhere in all this mess I get insanely lucky and happen upon an anti-cleric surcoat with friendship. Daggerfall lets you wear clothes beneath your armor, and those clothes can be enchanted. You also have a frankly embarrassing amount of additional slots to the left of your equipment screen for enchanted sundries. I can only speculate that super endgame players who are several hundred hours into a playthrough are stacked and packed with a very strong constant magical effect in every one of these slots. And there's really nothing stopping me from doing this too, aside from inconvenience. I've had to spend a lot of the money I have process I'm not familiar with, in order to create magical items. It might have made the process easier, but I doubt it would have saved me time. A constant effect-resist poison item might have saved me a few deaths, but definitely not enough to justify going that far out of my way. This shirt is aloof as to its actual effects, since charisma isn't a thing in this game, but when I check my attributes, my personality shot up from 54 to 100. This probably saved me a lot of additional runs by pumping the amount of money I could haggle for. Poisons come in a variety of effects. Some drain your stamina, some drain your stats, some your health. They can present very similarly to diseases, which confuses the hell out of me for a while, as I'm slowing to a crawl, and the cure disease spell doesn't seem to do anything. Remember, always check your status when you see the warning you feel somewhat bad. Don't just make assumptions. After about an hour of smashing my head against this and only getting $250,000, I realized that I need to aim for some higher tier drops, so I started spamming my training spell to get some more levels. Although getting high enough for danger to drop regularly ended up being vital to speeding things up, the downside is that every time you increase in level, the types of enemies that spawn in each dungeon seem to change. And this place goes from a pirate stronghold to a place housing ghosts almost exclusively. Ghosts don't drop any loot, and they love to paralyze you. I start shopping around for other dungeons. Another way to find dungeons is as random map drops from enemies, so I am
Hello?
haunting of Lithagon
Hello?
is initially a very
Hello?
since 2 human enemies spawn around this pyramid. But it doesn't
Good afternoon. My name is Olivia. I'm reaching out because Medicare just launched an inflation relief package for New York, which offers extra cash for groceries, gas, and prescriptions. It's part of the annual enrollment for 2026. So you do have Medicare Parts A and B, right?
Yes.
Perfect. You're eligible for our plan. Let me forward you to the benefits specialist. Please hold.
Unfortunately, kind of screws with my stat for how many days this took.
Thanks for calling Danny from Plan Course. How are you today?
Good.
Since I'm critically weak to paralysis,
Got
this is
several
that
health and
sentence,
health.
if not many.
Currently, it's look like inquire about Medicare benefit through website in your area. They're still eligible. So I believe you do have Medicare Re and support, right?
Yes.
Perfect. And sir, by the way, how old are you, sir? Where's your age? Sir, how old are you? Where's your age?
I don't pick up on this entirely until after the run, but I do spell make a cure paralysis spell with a 100% success chance, and that's good enough to trivialize the issue. Something I didn't know is that if you sell enough gear to a vendor that will encumber you with the weight of the gold, you get paid with a letter of credit, which is highly convenient. It's about 450K in the bank, but I'm not satisfied with my current spot. Let's try the Cabal of Morgiria. Oh yeah, this is immaculate. She's even spawned in facing away from me, so I get backstab bonuses. Knowing this is here, if I had to do the run again, I could probably just grind spells to level 17, travel to this location manually, and then pound out 1 million gold in an hour total. Feel free to try it for yourself. And with that, we have made our million. The only embarrassing thing about this run is that due to the restrictions on iron and steel, I think the entire run with chain or use. Something better might have dropped along the way, but if it did, I glossed over it. Daggerfall took about 4.5 hours. I actually did it in one sitting. It wasn't exactly a breeze, though. Doing virtually anything in Daggerfall runs the risk of death by infectious disease, and often you're not even afforded the privilege of knowing what killed you. Strangely, though, the way that this is done is surprisingly similar to another game in the series. has a limit on how many septims a vendor can pay per item. At the high end, about 3,000, which means I might have to sell at least 300 high-value items. Not too difficult in the late game, but we're going to have to get to the late game first. I made a huge mistake with Oblivion by playing it completely unmodded. The Darnified UI mod would have saved me so much time and effort, but I just wasn't willing to finagle my way around another script extended install. My first attempt was an unmitigated disaster, as the character build I came up with was completely scuffed. I chose Imperial, Speed Sign, Stealth Specialization to help my alchemy, Speedcraft, and Mercantile level up faster, and favorite attributes of Strength and Personality. Major skills being Acrobatics, Alchemy, Athletics, Heavy Armor, Mercantile, Security, and Speechcraft. The plan was to harvest ingredients from farms across Cyrodiil and turn them into restored fatigue potions. The cells will let you name Orlin Way and provide elegance in the city. I wonder if she's related to Cyrodiil, where the back page is good. This lady is pretty vital to all my plans because she has a gold pool of 2,000 and a mercantile skill of only 6, meaning that you can get the best prices for your wares there and also sell expensive or large stacks of items to her. Almost immediately I head there and discover she doesn't exist because I have the Game of the Year edition and not the Game of the Year edition Deluxe. Undeterred, I had to hand-build to talk to Beryl Warbane, a Dunmer Smith with 1,200 gold and a low-ish mercantile skill. You can't trade out the items to Smiths unless you're at least level 50 in mercantile, but that's a temporary obstacle. Merchants will accept better prices at better dispositions, but the way that Speechcraft is leveled up is inefficient. By simply doing a lot of business with the vendor in the first place, you get their disposition next. In short, Speechcraft is actually entirely worthless, especially when the bribe button exists. I start farming food and turning it into monster energy drink. Have you heard of the High Elves? That line isn't anywhere in Oblivion. It's a Mandela effect from a popular shitpost. But as a substitute for the High Elf that was supposed to be in Divine Elegance, there's a fallback altar in the basement of the Inn at Skingrad, who has a low mercantile level, but also barely any money. This basement king was supposed to be my road to riches, but in selling them potions individually for mercantile experience, and noticing it's going really slowly, I happen upon the UESP page for leveling up skills. Mercantile takes, at best, 11,000 individual transactions to reach level 100. And people want to get there. Selling 11,000 items would have been too hard, but it's not looking for throughput. Just like Daggerfall, it's looking for transactions. Sell 1 potion, 0.4 of an experience point. Sell 1,000
Shit.
0.4 of an experience point. Modding UI would have sped up transaction time, and it's not like I haven't already used quality of life mods for Morrowind, but the arithmetic of selling thousands and thousands of potions before I even get to ideal conditions makes my head spin. The reason why we want level 100 mercantile is because when we reach max mercantile, you get a perk that not only increases the gold held by merchants by 500, but also allows all items to be purchased and sold at tooltip value. Although it's possible to make a fortify mercantile spell for 100 points for 1 second, just like in Morrowind, this perk is not granted by achieving mercantile this way, and overflowing your mercantile skill doesn't improve the outcome. Without the max mercantile perk, high-level mercantile NPCs still have a haggling cap associated to their level, which is never tooltip value. For highly trained vendors, the difference between 99 and 100 mercantile can be as high as 40%, depending on disposition. For some reason, fortified mercantile still lets you invest in shops, but not all shops.
God fucking damn it.
So fortified mercantile is not going to be optimal. The only way to level mercantile outside of a 1,000-hour playthrough is to use skill traders. The alchemy shop in Coral has a mercantile trader, but unlike Morrowind and Daggerfall, you can only train 5 times per level. If not 5 times per skill per level, 5 times per level, which means that to get a high mercantile skill, we will need to reach a very high level on top. It would also be handy to be a high level in order to get my hands on a better mortar and pestle, and those only begin spawning at high levels too. down a rabbit hole of discovering just how poor my decisions have been. Athletics takes 31 hours to level to 100 under ideal circumstances. Acrobatics, 3,000 jumps that cause health damage. Speechcraft, 2 to 4,000 minigames. Security, 3 to 7,000 combo sets. Leveling up was going to take ages in this configuration, on top of which, I was hardly making any money to begin with. Even with the ability to make potions out of a single ingredient, effectively doubling my harvests, I realized that this was not going to cut it. I wasted a few hours trying to ineffectively power level and then called it off. Take 2. Very glad that I saved prior to the sewer exit. I changed to a Bretta. Their 50% magic resistance shores up the biggest problem of defense in any combat build, and they have a small bonus to endurance. The lady as a sign will give me additional endurance as well. For class specialization, it's combat, strength, and endurance. Alchemy, armor, blade, block, heavy armor, mercantile, and conjuration. Our first priority is to maximize our endurance. We need a combat viable build, and endurance is the only stat that applies bonuses per level that are not retroactive. Every time we level up, we gain 10% of our endurance in hit points, so to become strong in combat, we must up endurance immediately. This is the last gasp of the D&D Rule 7 bonus rolls. Although in D&D your HP gain per level is a function of rolling a hit die that is determined by your class, and then modified by your constitution, here it is exclusively determined by your endurance, granting entirely too much importance to an easily forgotten stat. Oh, also I got all the official plugins off screen. Want the game to be easier? Buy Power. Simple as that. Although, if you bought the Game of the Year edition, you may need to contact Steam support to delete your ownership of the regular version to buy the deluxe edition. I just didn't bother and went to GOG. I scraped together enough money for some heavy armor and then go and gently pet pet rats. It causes them to snuggle me so hard that my
You
defenses
fucker.
heavy armor and block are endurance feeders. As a
You
matter of
fucker.
I also took armor, so I could get bonus level progress out of repairing how wrecked my gear was getting. I joined the Fighters Guild for a free place to sleep and then settle into a rhythm. I also check all the barrels and boxes in the basement for repair hammers. You have a surprisingly high chance to spawn as junk items, and it doesn't matter if they're sold if I plan on using them. The complication of this plan is that Arena locks her front door at sea 3 times a day, so I save junk pickpocketing the key off of her to avoid having to play the lockpicking minigame in 5 security. This takes a while, but it's arguably the most important part of the process. If you haven't guessed at this point, we'll be making our million using Daedric equipment drops. They are very heavy and legitimately worth more than any vendor can pay for them. But they also drop from statistically strong enemies above level 20. We must reach a high level, and we must do it in a combat viable way. At level 9, which only took about 40 minutes, we hit 83 endurance, which will get us all the health points per level that we need, and we can focus on other things. Before going any further, I want to train some blade levels, preferably to 50, because getting those levels later might be difficult. So I go to Sideways Cave to smack imps with a rusty iron dagger. Very fast attack speed, only a single point of damage. And imps can't meaningfully harm a breath. Only downside is that they squeal like you wouldn't believe every time they take damage. This works pretty well, until I level up and half the imps are replaced with trolls who will rock me into next week.
Excuse me?
Ever seen a slaughterfish on land? You have now. I later found out that even at the highest levels, Robert Land Cave stays populated with imps, which would have been ideal, but instead I stumble a bit and grind out some combat stats in an alien ruin across the front from the start of the game. All the time I spend in this ruin is definitely where I'm spending my time least efficiently, but it's good enough. Our next priority is mercantile leveling. Since mercantile is so ass, we'll need to get all of our levels from trainers, and that's not cheap. 10 gold per level each time you train. So, at 47 mercantile, it costs 470 gold to level up. This is why we still took alchemy as a major skill. By brewing restore fatigue potions, we get 5 levels of alchemy, sell the products for the money we need to get 5 levels of mercantile, level up, and repeat. The attribute distribution is terrible, which bites me a bit later, but it's very efficient. In retrospect, I really should have done done some acrobatics training by taking some fall damage. Acrobatics training, as a miscellaneous skill, would have given me agility points, which would supposedly reduce my chance of getting staggered. Picking locks also would have helped. Tamika Vineyard for grapes, Shard Rack for corn, Shipcombe Farms for corn, and a bit of everything else. Mix it down until we get 5 levels, sell it to Oriel and White, get training in coral, repeat. Turns out clapping the cheeks of Westfield brown bears is a good way to train Blade also. Above level 70 Mercantile, you have to get a quest to see a master trainer who wants you to show her that you can make 10,000 gold before she'll train you. But I was already way ahead of this, so she just gives in instantly. After a few hours of that, we're level 24, so I go back to smacking some bandits around. Bandits wear light armor, which might have a better gold to weight ratio, but really that just means less profit per kill. Glass armor is worth selling, along with any dangerous weapons they might be carrying, but Elven and Mithril gear is basically worthless. It's not great. With a bit of capital behind me, I buy all the upgrades for Frostcrag's Fire. This place is actually super inconvenient for anything that isn't spellcrafting or enchanting. The fast travel point is like a 90-second jog through the front door. I don't know why it had to be like this. I make a conjuration training spell. 1 skeleton for 1 second. And a better healing spell, although with the way that spellcrafting works in this game, it's kind of difficult to make a better version of spells that already exist. I get Feather from Edgar's discount spells, and then buy a few filled grand soul gems, and get briefly confused as to why I can't put a constant effect Feather on my Daedric dagger. In Oblivion, weapons can only carry on-hit effects, or at least that's the way it seems. So I trained to level 25 in Alteration, the level that I would need in order to be able to cast the spell, and then start slapping 50 points of Feather on the gear that I'm wearing. One thing about Oblivion that I'm starting to hate at this point is that traveling takes a lot of in-game time. You always seem to show up in town at night. Daggerfall has an option to always wait until morning before entering town, so you don't have to use the wait function at your shops. And boy would that have been convenient. Shops in Morrowind don't have a fixed schedule because nobody goes anywhere. At best, they either stop around a predetermined path or move randomly around a small space. At worst, they stand perfectly still until the heat death of the universe. And here's another brain blast that I have while walking around Oblivion. Oblivion was the first game where people could sit down. That's why it looks so janky. A bit more conjuration training in order to buy some more Mercantile training and some more handed hunting. At this level of blade training, even with a Daedric dagger, these are taking forever to go down. Higher levels in Oblivion get weird in this way, where the stats available from equipment plateaus, but the enemies keep getting stronger regardless. At level 30 with 100 Mercantile, all shops now have 300 more gold, and more importantly, I can make all purchases and sales at tooltip value. The Mercantile level of the vendor no longer has any influence over my profits, although I won't optimize upon this until a bit later. It's also helpful that if I do the classic recettear screw-up and start buying items rather than selling them, I can then just sell them back without losing profits, since it's the same gold both ways. From here, leveling up is behind us. Only took 4.5 hours. But we're in Dwarven gear in a Daedric world, so we need to do a bit of shopping. Daedric gear is never sold from vendors. The best we can hope for is affinity. So our upgrades will come from killing things, but that is going to be rough in our current state, so I chased down 2 pieces of gear that will turn the tides. Separated at Birth is one of those weirdly excellent quests that you can just not even know exists. Back in my casual playthrough in 2005, I was mildly annoyed by this quest chain for the way that it blocks off access to the Thieves Guild's best fence if you don't pick the evil option. But for our purposes today, we want the discussion of coral. God, that's cathartic after getting bullied by them earlier. Oh god. I legitimately don't know how you're supposed to fight 3 of these things at once. It's not like I've been slashing on my combat levels. Just one of them is fine, but 2 means that I'll get stun locked to death. And there's more in the cave that I have to clear out. Thankfully not far from Weatherlay, there's a small farm holding with farmers with in-game gear and magic and slave gods who take care of my problems for me. Oblivion is goofy at high levels. It's almost like you were never meant to get this far. Can you imagine how bad it would be if I had power level blade guns? I slap a strong fire engine shield for damage output. But believe me, the reflect is where all our damage comes from. Whatever you remember liking about Oblivion's combat, you were wrong, at least at high levels. It might be because I only have 30 agility, but basically anything you do in combat leads to a stagger. It's difficult to effectively DPS when you are always stumbling. I tried to dig up a probability chart for stagger effects in UESP, only to find discussion posts claiming they could not observe any quantifiable difference between high and low agility. So that's great. Reflect is important for efficiency, not just for survival, but because it's the only effective way to deal damage to the enemy while stun locked. Now that we have 70% reflect, our next goal is to get a better weapon and armor, and I know just the place. Not far from the Imperial City is the alien ruin of Vindicel, where Umbra lies waiting for prey. Umbra is wielding the body of a lady who is wearing full ebony armor. As a guaranteed drop, you can hardly do better for convenience, and Umbra itself is probably the best longsword in the game. Sure, there's a glitch you can use to get a melee greatsword that does more damage, weighs nothing, and lasts forever, but that is definitely not intended behavior. I do have some standards, I swear. With my new setup, I get back to fighting the bandits at Vildara, but the profits just aren't there, so I try the Bloodcrust Cave and Skin Trap. Plenty of vampires, they carry a lot of expensive gear, but it's a pain having to cure my porphyria and chemophilia every time I clear the cave. I'd like to take a moment to make a solemn pledge to you and to myself. I promise to never stoop to using vampirism as a shortcut to power in an Elder Scrolls challenge. It sucks, and no one likes it. But I digress. Vampires aren't the answer, so I do some research. Southeast of the Imperial City lies Fort Alessia, a ruined fortress filled with marauders who wear heavy armor. And there's a lot of them over 2 floors with a boss marauder at the end. To make it even better, this is a dungeon with a loot back. Much like many dungeons in Skyrim, when you beat the boss, you can flip a switch and return to an earlier point in the dungeon. Very convenient. We're 6 hours in now, and this is the point in which I would consider the road to have done. Everything up until now has just been preparation. I could have already been a millionaire in all 3 of the previous games by this point. Now, it's time to cash out. Head into Fort Elysia, kill everyone, take any pieces of dangerous equipment, plus some choice pickings from other sets. Glass boots, daggers, shields, and cuirasses whenever they pop up. Ebony daggers also have a very good gold to weight ratio, but the rest of the set is awful. Orcish is the most common set to draw, but it's worthless. Sell them all to Orlinley, wait 3 in-game days, dive back in. But we can do a bit better than that. There's another plug-in vendor in the Merchant's Inn who has a gold maximum of 3,000 once he's properly invested. His mercantile is higher, but since everything is now total value, it doesn't matter. Profit per run is too variable to nail down. I'm not going to bother counting the amount of runs I made. But the process boiled down faster than I thought it would. I did manage to get a full set of Daedric, although none of the Marauders ever wore anything except conjured ground helmets. The one Daedric helmet I did end up getting was a random drop from the boss Marauder's inventory. It was actually a Daedric helmet of water breathing, which is an odd fit. I'm partially rate limited by my carry weight capacity, although if any enemy spawn with armor that's too heavy for me to carry, I can just take it off the body and leave it on the ground and then pick it up on the next run when I have spare capacity. The bodies of the enemies despawn, but dropped objects never do. NPCs might pick up these items, but I can just kill them to take it back. Very efficient. I do want to have as high a carry capacity as I can, though. I would have killed for a wagon just like Daggerfall, or a Lydia to carry my burdens. But instead, we have the feather effect. Feather in Oblivion is strange. The amount of bonus capacity it gives you is influenced by how much you are currently carrying. So when you put on pieces of armor with constant feather effects, you'll get less carry weight if you are near empty than if you put them on well over capacity. Which really trips me up when I put a feather effect on my helmet, and equipping it somehow reduces my carry weight. Feather isn't only good for more carry weight, it also reduces the effective weight of your equipped items down to 0 for the purposes of movement speed calculations, which is very helpful because my athletics is rather low, and this allows me to run pretty fast. I I also get a pair of ebony boots with 80 points of feather. Since the most that I can put onto an item myself is 50, this is a net gain, so I trade down for my daedric boots. The only things that genuinely threat me are caster enemies with stains, as they can just spam high damage magic spells at me, and enemies with spell damage on hit weapon enchants. 50% magic resist is a lot, but it's not invulnerable. I could have farmed the mundane ring, but I wasn't experiencing any significant issues with survivability. The spellcasters in here drop strong healing potions, and I can wait for 1 hour to heal whenever I need to. Oblivion doesn't have regenerating health like Skyrim, but you don't need to rest to recover HP, which is a strange middle ground. Two things that are just annoying and time-wasting more than anything are the fact that casters run away from you at incredibly high speeds and almost never stop moving to stand and fight, and that incredibly expensive weapons that a lot of these enemies drop can just completely dissipate from the aether after they die. It wouldn't be until Fallout 3 that weapons dropped by enemies would become associated with their respective corpses' inventory, and that quality of life feature would have saved me a lot of time, especially with how dark it is in here. Dropped weapons can inherit a lot of velocity when they're dropped for some reason here. A lot of the time I think they were actually dropping outside the boundary box of play. I start intermittently using a daedric sword as a fire enchant, but recharging it eats into my profits, so it's not really worth using all the time. Still, good to have as a sidearm for when the enemy power attack disarms you, or someone has a spell that disintegrates weapons and armor. Speaking of which, the rhythm is now unload all my gear at the merchant's head and then go right next door for repairs, since the amount of wear that these fights can cause can be immense. Stop! I could have saved money by trading a few levels of armor and then repairing it all myself, but I was really getting into a pattern, and I didn't want to interrupt it. By this point, I'm at 250,000 septums and I can start seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. One problem I start to realize is that all glass swords are too heavy to be worth carrying back. If I just leave them where they lie, the ground starts to get littered by them. So every once in a while I start making a second trip just to clean them up so that the game's engine doesn't get inundated with physics objects. Another solution I could have used,
Fuck.
or should have used, would have been to stuff them onto an enemy corpse so that they despawn alongside them. After a quick break for dinner, I slam out the rest in about 3 hours. 4 hours total of actually running grinding. The majority of the time was spent in preparation. Total time in the save file was 10 hours, 30 minutes. Add on some time for crashes and some time spent alt-tabbing doing research. It was an all-day affair. Between the test run and the real run of Oblivion, I happened upon the videos that It's Chavo did for Oblivion and Skyrim, and he said it would take closer to 20 hours, so I'm very pleased with this outcome. Also, very devastated to learn that I'm a hack fraud with no original ideas. You may as well go and watch his videos for comparison, assuming you somehow haven't already. But now we come to the elephant in the room. Okay. It was always going to end this way. Just like with Oblivion, I had a big old false start of a run before I figured out what I was doing. I made a khajiit so I could sell my wares for coin, and then I opted for the standing stone. The plan was to get into the Thieves Guild and then use alchemy to sell potions on them. There's a few problems with this, though. Primarily sourcing ingredients. The stock of ingredients that vendors carry is embarrassing. Perhaps enough to make one potion that you really need, but if you want to make 3, then you're in for a bad time. Likely intended behavior in order to slow players down, but it's a far cry from the instantly refreshing stocks of Morrowind. Food items and farms can't be used in alchemy to make restore fatigue potions anymore. There's a cooking system for that now. Since cooking is a skill that can't be leveled up, this is a dead end. We used a potion calculator called potions, or maybe it's potions, to determine the best monetary return from all ingredient stock for the merchant each refresh. But it was a complete wash. There just isn't enough ingredients to be reliable. Even a few thousand septums at this rate is going to be a miracle. Skyrim actually resembles Morrowind in more ways than you think. For one, the Fortify alchemy loop is back with a vengeance. When done correctly, you can make a weapon or armor piece with stats so high it moves back around being terrible. This makes it easy to make a weapon that has a tooltip value of many millions of septums, but there's a problem with that. There's no one that can buy it. Also, like in Morrowind, Skyrim vendors have a limited cash supply, and that supply is really low. Even if I felt like doing the Fortify Alchemy loop to make expensive weapons, it's not going to get me anything. There's a well-known item duplication glitch, but while some aspects of my strategies in the earlier games can be considered cheesy, they were still within the laws of the game's mechanics. Elder Scrolls games are so broken in places that it can be difficult to determine what is a bug and what is a feature, but I think we can all agree that Fortify Alchemy looping and item duplication falls firmly within that bailiwick. So what's the solution? Well, we have two options. Above level 22, the player gains access to the spell Banish Daedra, which can be enchanted on a weapon to dramatically increase its sale value. Enchanting iron daggers is the popular strategy, but this is a method favored by endgame players who are already at that level and need more cash. Getting to that level would take a lot of time, probably enough to get a million subjects by other means. The only other strategy is still alchemy, but much like in Oblivion, it'll cost you. Farming ingredients in player housing is the only reliable way to get alchemy ingredients in any sufficient quantity due to the way that vendors work. This requires the special edition or buying DLC. There's a creation club farm in the anniversary edition which would speed this up even more, but no. All Start was on the launch version of the game. I technically own the special edition, but the way I have to play it is a bit funky. Skyrim VR sure does exist. But when I was in lockdown, I hadn't been outside 6 months, which means that I had to wrestle to uninstall a variety of graphical improvement mods that hopefully won't show up and get this video age restricted. I'll be blunt. The base version of Skyrim VR is not worth playing. Your hands have no collision, and you can't pick up items with them, which is why I modded it gently. Not in any way that changes the balance, except that I can now yank items more from a distance. The reason why this is important is because in VR, you have to have a way to pick something up off the ground without fully bending over, especially if you're playing in a seated position, which I usually do. It's actually shocking how much the Higgs real hands mod adds to the game, particularly the act of looting items, since you have the choice between selecting it and hitting accept, or pulling it in your hand and tossing it over your shoulder into your backpack. But to get back to the task at hand, we're still a khajiit and we're still taking the deep snow. Would you believe the temerity that Imperials don't have any bonuses to selling items in this game? Neither do khajiits, despite all the lore of the game being about how they are nomadic traders. No, it's Nords and Bretons that get minor speech bonuses. Why? Starts at hack your thing. Ransack everything within reason from Advar's brother. Continue on down the right way. Everything's dying really fast. Oh, I'm still on novice difficulty. I'll set it to adept. Realistic archery is an option you can turn on in the base VR client, and it's a blessing and a curse. Much more articulation of movement for aiming, but way easier to get wrong. Still, archery is far and away the best thing about the VR client. There's two things we need quite right. Talking to the guard to gain entry gives us a very rare speech level. Very often. We also meet Isolde in the main square. She asks us for a mammoth tusk. Lucky for her, there's a mammoth tusk about 20 feet away. This nets us 400 gold and another speech level. We'll be back to put a ring on this later, but for now we're off to Brooklyn. Getting shaken down by the guards gives us a speech level, and it's the last one we'll be seeing for a while. Two orders of business. See the priest of Mara to get the amulet Mara and start the quest to join the Thieves Guild. Our overall goal is to upgrade the fences of the Thieves Guild and get enough gold to purchase player housing. 5,000 gold. No small task. More gold than any vendor carries in the entire game. The hope is that by completing these Thieves Guild quests, we will end up with the money we need, while also having upgraded fences to sell our products. Skyrim is an impoverished region, to say the least, and the only merchants who will normally carry over 1,000 gold every 48 hours are the Thieves Guild fences. But we have to spread the Thieves Guild's influence first. This is far from a quick process, requiring us to complete 5 quests from 4 different cities, followed by a capstone quest for each. The best job to select for this purpose is the numbers job. Simply put, we speak into a place and press interact with a book. The page quests can be completed stealthily, but at my current level, I stick out like a sore thumb, and sensitivity on these controllers makes moving slowly very difficult. I'm actually getting some stick drift on my Oculus controllers, so I have to tune up the dead zone, which makes sneaking not really possible. Before going any further, I go and get a cheap amulet of Hera and marry his soul out. I do this every game anyway. Once I get a house, she'll move in and set up a shop, which will produce 100 gold income for me every day. Since Isolde's character is about wanting to become a merchant, I feel this fits pretty well. Also, as a khajiit, it's handy to have a wife that deals in moon sugar. One thing we'll want to bump is our speech level. Infamously difficult in this game, but there's a trick to it. By having a very low bounty in a hole, guards will know that we've committed crimes, but can't be bothered to apprehend us unless we talk to them directly. When we do, they realize that we're a criminal and we can bribe them to look the other way, which nets us speech experience. And we can do it once per guard in each town every 2 days. It's not cheap, but it's cheaper than buying trading, and it's not limited how many times you can do it per character level. Just don't choose the 0 gold option or you won't get any experience. Back to forgery jobs. That's pretty dull. Just this part of the run took about as long as getting a million gold in Arena or Daggerfall. Capstone quest in Solitude is about planting evidence on about counting. You need to get some illicit Balmore balloon, which costs 1,500 gold. I pay the money, and then am informed that it's in a chest under the dock, and the chest doesn't require a key. So I reload and hit the damn lock myself and keep my money. The boat is locked down like you wouldn't believe, and my sneaking is still really low, because if your sneak is low, it's hard to sneak to gain experience. So it turns into a bloodbath. Thankfully, the entire crew and the first mate of the ship turning up dead isn't enough to throw off the investigation into the contraband smuggler. The fencing Markarth wants us to retrieve his silver bullet. This is at the bottom of a multi-level dungeon filled with enemies that just keeps going and going and going in. Maybe flashbacks to running Daggerfall with the shorter dungeons option turned off. So now we're finished 3 of the 4 capstone quests we need, but there's a hiccup. I have literally done 15 quests so far, and none of them have been for Whiterun. When you accept these radiant quests, it chooses a random shop in a random city. The possible cities are Markarth, Solitude, Windhelm, Whiterun, and Grimton. Grimton radiant quests do not contribute to upgrading the guild's influence, and they dilute the pool, so Whiterun only has a 20% chance of appearing. If we were to take these jobs as they may, this means that in order to get Whiterun influence, I would have to, statistically, complete 25 missions instead of 5. But by quick saving after asking for a quest, but before the details are populated, we can efficiently save scum the result until we get the location we need. Save scumming is a fundamental aspect of Bethesda games. Fight me. Shouldn't be necessary, why must you be like this? That's just creepy. The capstone quest for Whiterun is pretty simple. Just walk into the Jarl's quarters and forge 1 book and steal 1 letter. Or it would be simple, but the Jarl's children didn't stay up all night, every night, staring directly at the staircase I need to get in. Hey, Detective Conan, it's 3 in the morning. Go to bed. Now that we've got defenses up to their maximum cash value, we can turn our attention to buying some property. Gilstat Manor should be perfect for our purposes, but before we're even allowed to purchase property, we have to take care of a little vampire problem. Are feats of heroism usually required to become a homeowner? Do I still have to put in a deposit? Well, I've never played the hardware content before, so I stumble around a lot trying to get building materials. Maybe failing to see the free note of clay that is 3 feet from the ground.
She said the thing. She said the thing.
The project actually dries up my gold completely. Mostly because I paid an absurd price for a certain alchemy as an investment. As per the UESP guide,
Where the
I paid
fuck?
Scaly Oleota and 10 Dragon's tongue and fly enemy fast. There is a better recipe to farm, but the hitbox on Creek Cluster is misaligned in the special edition, so it's difficult, impossible to actually acquire. This is fixed in the unofficial special edition patch 4.3. But for reasons beyond my comprehension, if you use the special edition patch past 4.2, despite being called the special edition patch, it's incompatible with anything except the anniversary edition and will instead corrupt your saves. Ask me how I know. Each farm plot takes 72 hours to regrow, and the harvest hitboxes are very inconvenient. The hitbox to attempt to scour the soil is almost as big as the harvest hitbox. The best way around this is to crouch and aim your hand upward. It's still pretty finicky, and it's actually the one place where I would hate to do this without VR control. Say what you want about Skyrim being shallow, but the fear of not being able to find my wife and worrying that she's been eaten by a dragon or something is very real sometimes. I throw together the money for the supplies to make a double bed and ask Isolde to move in. Now she'll set up a shop and make me daily income. Not much, but it is a net gain in the long run. Every loop of transactions is going to take approximately 4 in-game days, which means 400 gold from her, plus an 80 gold from the deal, which I can sell. After grabbing a quicksilver ingot from the shop, my alchemy stand is set up and my barren man cave of a house is fully functional. You notice some blurring of double vision in the menus? That's skewed VR interlacing the output of my left and right eye displays together. I can make about 40 potions at a time and then sell them to a fence. Any fence really, but Twilla is the most reliable. She does move about the ragged flagon, but she's still always there. My plan was to fence to Endon, who would give me 10% better prices due to being a lure firm. I'm playing a female khajiit for no particular reason, and in retrospect, playing a male would have been better on this run. Unfortunately, Endon spends most of his time wandering the streets of Tarkar. It is very inconvenient to find because of it. Even if it's 3 loading screens to get to the flagon, consistency is the most important. Once I've exhausted a fence of their gold, I have to wait 48 hours for the shop to reset. Waiting in Skyrim VR completely blanks out the screen. And how long does this take? Over a minute. Yeah. Banishing myself to the shade closet for 30 seconds at a time is not a very tempting proposition. I do have other ways of amusing myself, though. If you see me looking upwards, it's because I have a little TV screen layered over my game and I'm watching YouTube. But some quick math determines that waiting this full minute for every shop reset will take over 4 hours on its own. I've demonstrated that you can use this method reliably without using glitches. This is where I have to sacrifice a bit of my integrity to get a bit of my sanity back. We are all familiar with the vendor restock glitch. Quick save, start combat, quick load, vendors refresh. I still have to wait 72 hours every harvest cycle, which takes 90 seconds. But not having to wait so long for the vendor refresh will speed things up enough to be something that I consider a human being to potentially be willing to sit through. At least with this 2-pound bucket slung onto their head. This does put an asterisk on my completion time though. Without glitches, there would be several additional hours to consider. Also, there will be a lot of time not accounted for in that number, as I continually roll back the clock about 20 seconds every reset. I'm really glad that I did the shortcut here, because I don't recommend anyone spend this long in VR. This took many recording sessions and was demonstrably not good for my health. Don't let anyone tell you that YouTube is a safe profession. But I digress. One thing that does suck about this setup is that I have to attack her multiple times to actually get her to attack me. Probably because of our guild affiliation. It's much faster with generic vendors. Over time, I try and vary up my strategy for this. Frenzy poison seems like an easy win. I can't make a frenzy poison higher than level 15 without fortifying alchemy to a serious degree. I end up settling on using the flames spell to deal multiple instances of damage on her without having to flail my arms.
Wait, I know. No mistake. Alright. I'm waiting for it's down. I know it. There's no mistake. Alright. Wait, it's down. I know it. There's no mistake. You're wonderful. Alright. Wait.
From here, it's the same pattern over and over with the price improving over time. artists realistically just means less time spent in the reading closet. A major optimization I could make would be getting level 100 speech and getting the master trader code to increase the amount of gold carried by every vendor by 1,000, effectively a 25% improvement in time. By acquiring an expensive weapon, I can trade it back and forth at a loss continually, and then make up the difference with the potions that I bring in. This lets me sacrifice a harvest to the god of commerce for more speech levels. I just have to keep the vendor gold below 32,768, because presumably their gold is held as a 16-bit integer, and overflowing this value causes the vendor to freeze. In theory, this puts a hard limit on how fast you can do this run in the first place, as a vendor will never be able to pay you more than 32,767 gold for anything. Mashing out these speech levels is a lot more tiresome than you'd think, and at my current prices, I lose a lot of ground on gold faster than I'm comfortable with, so I dig around towns paying off guards and looking for haggling and flipless potions at any gear that can improve prices. Eventually, I get a 20% discount annually from Radiant Ravens, and head back to finish up the last bit. The best possible haggling prices are to sell items at 100% tooltip value and buy them at 105% value. The unmodified value of the item is all that matters towards getting speech XP. Getting better prices just means that you can trade things back and forth more times for less money. It only takes 20 minutes to hit 100 speech, and I settle in for another extended trading session. Hey Vex, how's Percy? Yeah, whatever. Damn it, fixated that for a time. And my speech is back to 86. You know, I don't need to grind these levels here, because that blacksmith has more expensive weapons to trade for. 2 hours later, and I have 100 speech, and realize it probably took more time to do that than I saved by doing it. I also picked up some stronger alchemy gear, which means that each harvest brings in several 100,000 worth of golden potions. But I only get a portion of that. Because these potions are now individually so expensive, I usually eat a loss on each trade of 10 to 25% in value. Also, I have to wait for the amount bar to painstakingly slide from the right to the left side each time.
Shit.
No fine result in this error. Just don't do anything stupid over there. One complaint that I had for Skyrim is that it doesn't respect the sanctity of vendor NPCs. Many shopkeepers start quests when you approach them. The lady who runs a jewelry shop in Whiterun in particular will not even sell you goods until you find her son. In our case, she forced me to start a quest to go set up a fence and create caravans before I was even able to interact with her shop. As a result, until I finish that quest, she treats every interaction with her as part of that quest. This is not good design. A shopkeeper should be basically a vending machine with function placed first. They can still issue quests with only a secondary, optional dialogue. This is the only game in the series to make this mistake. I can swim the stack I'm carrying down, but it's still somewhat inelegant. There is something of an issue with the VR controls. The desktop player wouldn't have this problem. I could mod the UI to be more user-friendly, but I'm deadly afraid of corrupting my save again. At this point, I'm actually high enough level to start enchanting items with banishment, but creating value is not the bottleneck. I just need the vendor to have more gold. Alright, enough screwing around. By only brewing the potions in stacks of 20, I can speed the process up a lot. What you just saw in 90 seconds took me 90 minutes. Just short. Hey, Dan has the shop. Love you, babe. Skyrim took approximately 13 hours by my recording lights. I really shouldn't have bothered leveling speech, and also I hardly knew what I was doing. I'd actually never done the Thieves Guild quest chain before. That was exhausting. Arena's grind was monotonous, but it was fast, and a lot of it was what I would still consider to be gameplay. was actually very close to what you'd consider simply playing the game. In my own casual playthrough of Dragonfall, I got around 600,000 gold pieces just screwing around. Getting a million gold in that game is closer to an eventuality. Morrowind is a game without knowledge. The better you know the game, the stronger you are. It's not surprising that you can crack it 30 minutes flat, even if the game tries to stop you. Oblivion is in an interesting place. Mercantile as a skill does not function the way that it should, and endgame combat can be pretty tedious due to the way that player stagger works. But it wasn't really that bad. It was similar enough from Daggerfall that it didn't feel tiring, even if there are aspects of it that absolutely should not work that way. Skyrim's economy is just not fun to interact with. Vendors barely have anything. You could be sitting on billions of dollars worth of stolen or crafted equipment, and actually converting that into scepters is made unnecessarily tedious. If you ever want to purchase an expensive item in Skyrim, you can always bring goods to borrow for them by purchasing first for the requisite gold and then getting your gold back with merchandising. But the strict vendor cash limit of 32,000 gold means that items can never be that expensive, and they can't carry much in terms of overall value in the first place. I think it's quite telling that Skyrim's vendors have a very low transaction limit, while Morrowind's vendors can carry as much gold as you can give them. I know it's a bug, but it almost feels like an intentional design choice to keep the player down. Even in a casual playthrough of Skyrim, in-game players find themselves with chests full of loot in their house. They simply cannot convert to gold. Useless clutter and unnecessary inventory management. If you want to have a stash of value all that hard work you've done, you shouldn't need a container with 3,000 items in it. Because we've invented a system for consolidating wealth already. It's called money. Skyrim's economy is so bad that it's not even commerce. It's bartering items for other items, like the caveman days. The ability of the player to generate or acquire wealth through dungeon diving far outpaces the ability of the economy to reward them for it, leading to a system of fake rewards that feel valuable but don't actually matter and end up never getting used. This is compounded by randomized shop inventories with hard limits that make it so that if a character wants to buy any specific item in bulk, they will immediately experience friction in trying to convert the gold they do have into the value that it's worth. Across Morrowind, Oblivion, and Skyrim, it's definitely weird to see that money availability is tuned up for the expansions. Hard to say if it's power creep or an intentional design choice to go through and buy it. Or maybe it's just bad design. The DLC never faced the same level of scrutiny as a retail release. I think that's especially apparent with the Pro-Fire drawing plots simply never working correctly unless you use unofficial bug fixes. Now, I'm not saying that the inability of the player to get rich quick makes Skyrim or Oblivion worse games. In my opinion, a well-balanced game should gatekeep wealth to a certain degree. But how much the money is held back is not as important as, for lack of a better word, the flavor of how it's held back. In Oblivion, if you have something expensive, you might not get full price for it, but you can still get a rather significant amount of money for what you're holding in your hands right now. And it's hassle-free. You can even shop around to find a vendor with more gold to buy it for. That's a good way to rate limit how fast you can get rich in a specific period of time. It ensures that accomplishment always has the carrot at the end of the stick. Arena and Daggerfall having limitless gold stocks from vendors may seem goofy. But you know what else is goofy about those games? Their difficulty. Playing casually, they are absolutely brutal and can kill you in seconds at any moment. When I get back to town with 750 kilograms of major gear, it had better be worth $500,000 gold, because my god, it's a miracle I'm even standing here. Morrowind is a bizarre middle ground in all things. It's a game where the highest merchant gold value is 10,000 gold, but there are legitimately items that you can find within minutes of starting that have total values of 69,000 gold. It's not balanced very well, but it's also tilted in the player's favor. The combat in Morrowind isn't as brutal as the previous games, but it's still an ordeal, and allowing the player the freedom to become absolutely busted is a nice break from that. Morrowind has legendary artifacts that are worth literally 200,000 gold, but you are never actually going to be able to get the amount of money for that. Still feels really great to have something worth that much in your pocket, though. I could do yet another run of Morrowind to see how long it takes to get money without using alchemy or fortify mercantile. It wouldn't even take that long. All I'd have to do is get all of the artifacts and all of the major gear pieces after using trainers to get myself to an impossible high level, and then using corpus disease to become basically immortal. But, I mean, when it comes to how you're playing Morrowind, you have to set limits for yourself. Because if there are no limits, then it just becomes pointless. Sure, you can do anything in Morrowind. You can become a god in Morrowind. But is that actually the point? And I think that's why Morrowind holds up better to a lot of people, even though it's legitimately unbalanced. The rules for the run, for how you want to play, are set by you, and not by a curated experience.
We're going to Solstheim at level 1. The hardest content in Morrowind. Hard even for endgame characters. We're going in at level 1. And just to be a bit spicier, I'm not allowing myself to use potions. So here's the rules. No prepping beforehand. Once I'm out of the Census and Excise office, it's straight to Solstheim. No bugs or exploits. The difficulty must be turned up to 100 because I hate myself. And no spelling. In fact, there are only 2 spell merchants on Solstheim and they don't sell much of anything useful. I'm playing on the OpenMW engine using the iHeart mod list. It's mostly just a collection of bug fixes, graphical improvements, and quality of life tweaks like hotkeys in the UI. Other than that, there's nothing inherently game changing here. This challenge would be exactly the same in vanilla Morrowind. It just looked way up here, and that's saying something.
What's your name?
Who am I, Joe? Why, I'm a guy that's totally not a werewolf. Before we travel to Cull to take the boat to Solstheim, let me explain my character build choices. If you've watched my Tribunal level 1 video, then you should throw out all that explanation because this build couldn't be any more different. First of all, I'm choosing to be a teeny tiny wood elf, not just because of the boosted marksmanship and sneak levels, but because they can command beasts once per day for 600 seconds. Not every beast on Solstheim will be affected by this power, but some will, and that'll be more useful than you think. That's totally not a werewolf, it's going to be an archer. There aren't very many good weapon choices for archers on Solstheim, but melee is super risky and scary. Our marksman level is starting at 50, so our accuracy will be pretty good right out the gate. And we can improve it pretty fast, really early on. I'm also taking sneak because maybe we can get some sneak attacks. Sneak is weird in Morrowind, so who knows. Athletics and acrobatics because I'm going to be running and jumping a lot, and I'm going to be running and jumping away a lot. Illusion as a major skill will start me with 2 spells, 10% Chameleon and 10% Sanctuary. How useful will they be? I don't know, we'll find out. Minor skills, mercantile and speechcraft and bartering. Security because there are a lot of locked chests on Solstheim containing enchanted arrows and bolts. Hand to hand because there's one quest that forces us to beat up a Solstheim native in aid of a foreign occupation. And restoration because what else? Maybe I should have taken a melee skill. Whatever. Speed and agility are my favorite attributes, so I can run faster and be a tiny bit more accurate. Stealth specialization to start with 10 more points in my stealth class skills like marksmanship or acrobatics. And finally, I'm taking the warrior bird's knife. It adds a flat 10 points to attack, effectively increasing our accuracy by 10%. And this is added onto our accuracy calculation after factoring in fatigue. No fatigue or full fatigue. This will add 10% accuracy regardless. We made it to Solstheim. Just breathe in that really cold air. But like when you breathe it in really hard, it hurts a little bit because it's way colder than the lungs. And we just ran here, so we're huffing. Let's drop everything first. The overwhelming collection of loot I've accumulated on my travels through Vardenfell, we don't need it. We're here at Fort Frostmoth, and the soldiers here won't interact with us until we sort out their alcohol problem. The problem being they don't have it. There's some of the office of the Fort Priest, Antonius Nuncius, and we'll need some of it to get on the soldiers' good side. So let's get it. Why does the priest keep his boobs tucked away in a corner, like he's trying to hide it? We'll learn why soon enough. But the soldiers actually aren't that desperate because quest scripting demands them tell us to go see Captain Falks Carius, the guy running the fort, before we do anything. When we meet him, he tells us that the soldiers assigned to this fort have it rough. Fort Frostmoth isn't an easy place to be stationed, and sometimes the men can get a little on edge. Cold, wet, and miserable. The island ain't that great either, but Carius's troops never shirked their duties until now. They begrudgingly do what needs to be done, but it still get done. Now, port is not sweet. Alcohol? These vinyls made a big damn one. So it seems the captain banned them. When we confront the captain about it, he says he never officially banned it. He doesn't care that the men drink. It's the priest that has a problem with it. But the alcohol shipment stopped coming months ago for some reason.
You said the
So
thing.
alcohol didn't even matter. If we confront the priest, he also seems baffled that the captain would ban alcohol. And when we ask him about the shipments no longer arriving, he gets super defensive, like comically defensive. So he's definitely got something to do with it. Fortunately, Tamriel doesn't have legal protection against unwarranted searches of people's belongings. Did on narrating above the law. Time to search his office once again. Well, let's just loot this crate out by the dogs first. It's full of weapons that we can sell to Zeno Faustus, the fourth weapon master. Assuming the weapon master. He sells weapons. His shop is just below the priest's office, so it's open. In the priest's office, there's a locked desk. I don't have a lockpick, but surely there must be a key hidden around here somewhere. It's pretty well hidden, and it's hard to grab the damn thing, especially when you're so freaking short. Yeah. If we unlock his desk, it's full of booze. And there's 256 septums with my name on it. I'm not going to drink any of this booze, by the way. You could argue alcoholic drinks are just the products of culinary art, a brewer's potion. I will give some of it to Zeno Faustus, however. We'll need his disposition higher for later, and we'll be doing a lot of bargaining with him, so anything that tips the scales in my favor, even a little bit, is worthwhile. Before I leave, I'll buy an iron crossbow and some iron bolts. Crossbows will be my weapon of choice for this run, not because they're inherently better than the bows, but because they don't have a damage range. The bolts do, but the range on bolts is much tighter than the range on regular bows. The further back you pull though, the higher the damage will do. Crossbows don't really have a variable draw distance, so its minimum and maximum damage is the same. The bolts do have variable damage. Steel does between 2 and 4 damage, for example. It's negligible, honestly. The appeal of crossbows is that you can fire them quickly without losing too much damage as a result. Upon returning to Antonius and confronting him about the booze we found in his desk, we have a choice to make. We can either
What are you
report it to
talking
Carriers,
about?
or we can keep his secret. I went with the latter because he'll give us a key
Oh,
to
fuck.
where it's filled, like just loaded with volumes. We could possibly sell that if we're strapped for gold at some point. We'll keep that key on our back pocket. Now that we've got this introductory Soulstime quest completed, let's look into some more gear upgrades. So there's actually another shop on Soulstime, but it doesn't exist yet. The East Empire Company has a presence on the island, and naturally they want to set up a colony to strip the island of its natural resources. The leader of this branch of the company, Carnius Magius, lets us join the EEC, putting us on track to help develop the colony of Ravenloft, which you played Skyrim's Dragonborn.
Oops.
That nature sounds familiar. This colony will eventually have a trader after a few quests, of course. So let's back burner the main quest of Soulstime for now, and do a bit of work for the EEC. The first quest for the company is to escort a few workers from the docks to the Ravenloft settlement site. The site's a bit northwest of the port, so it's not super far. However, there is one thing I want to grab before I head off. I feel like everything up to this point has been, let's do this one thing, but first let's do this thing. This NPC outside the port, Reinhard Redspear, has something I want. How do we get it from him?
After what happened to those other women, I've been following him for months
It's a
now.
huntsman crossbow.
Well,
Although
not
not getting
actually
on its own,
following.
it is
Trying to
known
find
car
the
accidents when it
The
drops
guards
into
won't
someone's
know,
lap.
but people won't help.
That's
I'm
really
the
just like
only one who
huntsman
thinks
spider
it can be
are
harmful.
harmless. But they sometimes cause car accidents. They like to take up residence in parked cars, and they'll scare drivers at inopportune times. This is apparently a thing in Australia. There are huntsman spiders in other parts of the world, so we'll probably have to deal with this too. The crossbow deals 25 damage, 5 more than the iron crossbow, a 25% increase. There's actually another huntsman crossbow available on the island, but it's much more out of the way. It's easier just to kill him. I'm gonna wear his armor too, so I'm not naked. The armor is unlikely to do anything, but
Just none of them thinks to do anything about it. They say I'm just
these
snooping
three
around
fine
bothering
fellows need an escort. Soulstime
I'm
is full of
trying to
wild
save
beasts,
lives.
naked Nords, and free stags. Although they just seem like ladies with daggers. Something I'm confused about
They
is
say
how
they're
sneak
too
attacks
busy
work
with
out.
the war.
I know if you
I
attack while
say, what
undetected,
good is
you'll
winning
do
a war?
damage,
We're
and
still
you get a little
terrorized
pop-up.
by one of our
Okay,
own.
get 'em, boys. You get a little pop-up on the bottom of the screen saying you performed a critical strike. But sometimes if I attack from a
What's it
distance
say?
while snaking, the first hit will seem to do more than the next hit.
There have been rumors
Within
swirling
sneak
about him
range
for
of the target to get a
years.
sneak attack,
As long
or
as
can
I
I
can
sneak
remember.
attack from far away?
But he's a dangerous man.
Oh,
That's
got
why they
distracted.
called him the Unliving. I wouldn't approach him directly. This information needs to go straight to the
Thanks for giving me
steward.
the crossfire, dude.
He'll listen to you.
It seems the most dangerous creature on this island is man. Well, I guess he's technically unreal, but you know those dinosaurs from Jurassic World that would attack anything marked with a laser pointer for some convoluted reason? He was in Morrowind first. It's a little different. hat and a dagger that should sell for quite a bit.
If you
Good
have
job,
any
guys.
news of the Western Poles,
You do.
take it to
When we
Odin.
make it
That's
here with
quite
the
an
boys, Falco
accusation.
Gallon
I assume
site
you have
manager,
proof?
asks that we bring some ebony back to
I don't
Carnius
want
to
to
prove
believe
to him and the colony's
Ulf
investors
has
that
been a
Raven
trusted
Rock
friend to
is
Ulf
worth it.
for many years. It pains me to see that the Whispers had truth to tell.
We need 4 more pieces of
Wolfred
evidence.
shall be
Unfortunately,
apprehended.
there's some
I
right
thank you
nearby.
for your
How can we-
diligence in
That's
getting to
just
the
how
bottom of
rich
this
the
matter.
island is. Time to exploit
streets
it.
of
We
Winter
ran out of
are now
bolts on the way
safe.
back. Fortunately, wolves are easy to outrun. That's not survivalist advice, though. Don't try to outrun a wolf. They will catch you. I'm no outdoorsman, but I'm pretty sure wolves got beat in the naked combat competition. Get guns involved, and it's a different story. I mean, it's not fair because wolves don't have guns. We give Carnius the raw enemy, and he pays us 100 gold. Oh, we also get a stock certificate. Wow, we're paid with stock options. If we do more quests and improve Raven Rock, the certificate will appreciate in value. I feel like I'm being taken advantage of. Before leaving, let's buy some more ammo for the team. 400 iron gold should be good for now. Even 300 profit thanks to that enchanted dagger. Back to Raven Rock. Fortunately, we can charter a boat to the Fort Frostbound dock now and get there just a bit faster. When we return, Falco tells us about the Snore, Raldar the Strange, who's disrupting the company's operations. Carnius would just prefer we kill the guy, but Falco suggests we just run him. He's a kinder fellow. And this is why I just can't.
Better board your raft.
Drawing back
Hand
this
in heart
deals
hearts
half
back
your
up.
hand-to-hand level is damage to the enemy's fatigue before knocking the opponent down. With a low hand-to-hand level, we'll be missing a lot and doing very little damage. With a level that's too low, we might not be able to out-damage Raldar's natural fatigue regeneration. He doesn't attack us back though, so we can stand behind him and sneak mode and get free sneak attack by punching
Under
him.
arrest for the murder of
He's
Susanna
such
of
a-
Kandelhard
but after
Hall
we punch him
and
in the
Frigga
mouth, he gets up
Shattersweet
and
and all the
Falco
rest.
pays us 1,000 gold for our efforts
We are wise
and
to your
sends us up to
scheming, you
Carnius.
coward.
But we gotta walk back because there's no boat available in Raven Rock.
City
yet.
lost
So,
their
rather than
brains.
fighting these 2 wolves by myself, I'll show you the power of
to
the
find the murderer myself.
And now
Take your
we got
excuses
friends
from
for
the
600
bloodworks, sir. Get him out of my sight.
What the hood? Oh,
Yes, sir.
don't you hate it? You back
I'm sorry,
out,
sir,
Wolverine.
but you'll have
I
to come
haven't
with
been-
me.
Here's something that crossed my mind.
This isn't over.
Why is ebony a mineral? In real life, ebony is a type of wood, and not like a specific
Disrespect the
species
law
of wood,
and you
but like a
disrespect
category of dark hardwood. So what's the deal with ebony?
I'm
and
not much of
the
a
other
strategist.
minerals going on? Well, I looked it up,
Both of
and it's
these
actually the
might
blood of
help.
Orcus, allegedly. After Ariel and Trinimac have dealt Orcan's heart at the adamantine tower over in modern-day High Rock, they chucked it across Terranton. It landed in Vardenfell, Red Mountain, where it remained for thousands of years. As it flew, Orcan's blood spilled across the land, leaving ebony deposits behind. This is why there's so much ebony in Morrowind and trace amounts in Skyrim. It makes the crafting of Daedra Groundner in Skyrim much more sensible. Add the heart of a Daedra to the blood of an Aedra. Had a Mag Aedra, but whatever. Carnius is disappointed that we can just off the north, but as long as the work continues, he's satisfied. After waiting 3 days for our next task, Carnius tells us a supply ship should have arrived from the mainland, and he wants us to check up on delivery with Falco. Of course, when we get back to Raven Rock, we learn the ship never arrived. Falco is not all that surprised since Carnius never commissioned a dock to be built, at least not one big enough to accommodate a supply ship. We do have a small dock though, so we can travel back and forth from Fort Frostbound. It's nice, but the missing supply ship is up front. Game and Gary, but that punched him to death in a different caliber. Headcanon all branching, save follow different calibers. He says he saw some lights in the northwest. Raiders, Reavers,
Dudes will play
suppliers,
Elder Scrolls
insects.
5 Skyrim,
Maybe
but
he
they
should
haven't
help
stopped
Falco.
scrolling
When we
on
got
their
to camp,
phone
we
to spend
jumped
time
once
with
and
their
now
elders
we
since
can
they
rest
were
and
5.
meditate on what we see.
Skyrim.
Level 2. Strength, agility, and speed. In case I miss any level ups, come back to this part of the video and rewatch it because all my level ups will be exactly like this. Strength, agility, speed. All the other attributes, I don't care about. Oh, don't run like that. Oh my god. This is gonna be a pain in the ass. Should have installed that mod that delivered their attack. Oh well. We're coming up to the first real challenge of this run. Draugr. If you're only familiar with Skyrim's Draugr, or Oblivion Zombies for that matter, you're in for a surprise. Morrowind's Draugr are fast. It's not so bad since we're out in the open right now, but imagine entering a tomb and having one of these guys bolting right up to you. Thankfully, they don't hit very hard. I can actually survive a hit or two from these guys. They stagger pretty reliably too, so we can actually get a hit off, and they look stupid as hell when they do get hit. Even with no fatigue like right now, my accuracy is still around 60%. Not that bad, but having full fatigue is still better, so running into new cells to rest up is still a viable option. I'm gonna have to rely on it pretty liberally. This cave is public property, so I can't rest to restore my health for some reason. Full fatigue is good. Oh no, Wolf, don't start with the wait, I can tame it. Get him, pup. Good job. should have foreseen this. One Draugr left. Something I was wondering was why Draugr are so damn fast in this game, but not nearly as fast in Skyrim. You know what changed? They're based on real folklore creatures, Scandinavian in origin, so it makes sense that they'd be in Skyrim. So I looked into them. They're not zombies in the sense that they're just reanimated corpses. They're more like corporeal ghosts. So they have all these wacky supernatural powers like superhuman strength and the ability to enter dreams and create darkness. Just create darkness. They just make it dark, I guess. Oh, and they can shapeshift and swim through stone. Yeah. What I'm imagining is a bunch of medieval Norse folk sitting around a hearth, one-upping each other about some monster they said they saw. Everyone adding something more and more ridiculous. And I was able to escape. That's nothing. I saw one that could do roundhouse tricks. Anyway, I think the speed gives them the appearance of swimming through walls when they're in a rift. They just kind of show up out of nowhere like they move them through the scene. Know of any other weirdly overpowered folklore creatures or obscure facts about commonly known ones? I'd love to hear it. This isn't just a plug for engagement. I'm actually curious. This stuff is interesting. Did you know Sphinx and Sphincter share etymologies? I'd explain why, but I have to escort this lady back to Ravenloft. Well, actually, I have to get some pics off the ship. It's an optional part of the quest that I thought was mandatory at the time, but it's optional, and if I had known that, I would have actually done it. But you can get 3,000 gold for bringing all 6 back to Falcon. But how on earth do you get onto the boat? Well, let's skip ahead a bit because I spent a good 15 minutes trying to get up this dumb freight rock. I guess the assumption is you use a levitate spell or a potion or something, or you just have higher acrobatics because you won't be level 2 and you really clear this jump pretty easy. By stripping down and dropping everything in my inventory and jumping around like a lunatic, I realized I should try jumping from an angle. And sure enough, it worked. I collected the pics, picked all my stuff back up, and headed back for it. But where was the lady? Oh, she's up on the ship. You know, in most scenarios, the dickhead you're escorting needs to be right up against you to actually load into the new cell with you. But this woman, she was standing on the rocks in the ocean and still managed to follow me up into the ship, loading into the ship's interior cell, tracking the wrong goddamn thing. So I reloaded, told her to stay put. Went through the whole process of dropping my stuff, jumping on the ship, collecting the pics, jumped off, re-geared, then had her follow me. Now we can return to Ravenloft. This berserker looks different. Oh my god, how much health does he have? What the? I'm not even making him dead. Oh my god, this is horrible. I can't do this. Come on, lady. Just run away.
This command right here is going to return a table of the manufacturer and the product of the base world that this virtual machine thinks it has. As you can see, it's very opposite of the product. So if you use this command, let's try it out. As you can see, it's a virtual box. That was its first company. Painful numbers. Anyway, we don't have to check this manually. We can use a tool like Discern, Seltzer, and we can see what's going on. We're going to go ahead and run with admin. Yes. And we're going to let this run for a little bit. I know this is a lot to look at, but basically everything good means that this wasn't detected, and then obviously bad means that it did detect that this was running in either virtual machine, debug environment, the sandbox. It also looks for stuff specific to VirtualBox and where it's set up. As you can see, it's not looking too good. We're not going to be able to take care of all of these, but I'm going to go ahead and cancel this with Control-C. I'm going to look at the log that was generated. I'm going to go ahead and count the number of detections that it found, 44. Alright, so that's not great because a lot of these are very obvious. You can also see that a lot of these include stuff like checks for specific usernames, IT admin, Peter Wilson, sandbox, malware, maltest, etc. Also see MAC addresses, and lots of other things that we're going to be taking care of, at least for the most part. Anyway, keep that in mind. We have 42 detections so far. Let's see what we can do about that. Anyway, powering off my virtual machine, we're going to do a few things first to make sure it won't get detected as easily. First off, make sure you have at least 4 gigs of memory. That is the bare minimum. One of the biggest hallmarks of a virtual machine being a virtual machine is that it has practically no resources. Also allocate at least 4 cores. Make sure you have at least 100 gigabytes of storage, no less than that, otherwise it will be detected. I want to have a disabled internet, but I have a host-only adapter set up on a custom adapter, VBox Net 1. Now, you might see VBox Net 0 or nothing here at all, and then this MAC address part is the problem. We're going to have a script change that. These first 3 bytes, 080027, are specific to VirtualBox. That's its prefix. Other companies have other prefixes, Intel, Dell, Asus, etc. So this is something we're going to have to change. Also a dead giveaway. Anyway, as for changing the host-only adapter, I'm going to tell you why that's a problem. If we hit Control-H and bring up the network tab, you can see VBox Net 0, which if we take a look at this subnet here, 56 is the default subnet that VirtualBox will provide. Again, also a pretty easy tell. So all I did was hit the create button, create a new one, and it went ahead and bumped the subnet up to 57, which is a lot less obvious. Anyway, our approach is going to involve 2 scripts, and I'm going to explain to you why we did it this way. The typical computer setup, you have the operating system and the hardware. The operating system would see what hardware it has because of the kernel, which sends all the information over. The operating system would then send it to the registry and the file system, and the registry would send it to stuff like the device manager. So where do virtual machines come in here? Well, virtual machines have partitioned sections of the host's hardware, so it gets to control what the operating system sees. It can inject whatever data it wants. And a side effect of the registry is that many of its values and keys and properties are read from the kernel. A lot of the keys are used to run processes where the names and the paths were dependent on each other, so you can safely change things. Things you can change go back to how they were every website, unless you change the hardware. Luckily, VirtualBox gives us the VBox management, which takes care of quite a bit. That leaves us less cleanup to do in the registry, and the file systems, and the device manager, etc. That means we have one script for the hardware, and the other script for everything else. By the way, I wrote this one already existed. So this script that I wrote takes care of the hardware stuff. In other words, what the operating system thinks it has to work with. Let's run it. We're going to open the terminal in this folder. We're going to type /VBox stel and then the name of your virtual machine. We're going to hit enter. As you can see, a lot of stuff just happened. What is that? First off, since we didn't specify a preset in Dell, set the date, figure a bunch of other stuff. This just means we'll have to manually clean up the files in the registry, because all the registry does in this case is just add files. So we can remove these. The hypervisor flag,
How
which is
come you
basically a value that
outlandishly so
says,
offended
am
by
I a
the word
virtual machine?
involved
Yes
when
or
you
no.
say it
That
amongst
means CPU
yourselves all the
operations,
time?
and also
Inwah this,
Active
inwah
Response
that,
Prefix.
inwah
Here's what we
please.
got.
Can
So
an
if we go
inwah
to
borrow a
VirtualBox,
sweet
we can
roll?
see what
How
it
in
is.
oblivion an
Anyway,
inwah
now
is
that
going
we're
to
back
borrow
in
a
our
sweet
virtual
roll?
machine, go
Inwah,
and
you
check
going to
C
get it back?
from the commands that we ran last time. As you can see, no VirtualBox inside. Let's try this one. Nothing. Okay, that looks good, but what about the registry? Let's take a look. Okay, it looks like one of the three things changed. What happened? Well, looks like this got read from the kernel and changed before we could do anything. And this is the graphics controller, which in order for you to change would require GPU password, which you can't do with VirtualBox. That's something that Keynote supports. But if we go to Device Manager, we can see that this drive got renamed, and there's nothing else here that's immediately obvious that this is a virtual machine. But that's not everything. Even though we're not going to get to everything, we can get as close as we can get. That's where this script comes in. Anyway, credit to this guy right here. He saved me a lot of time. We'll look for processes that are associated with guest editions, which we don't have. This is VMware processes. Looks like he wrote this for VMware too. Let's change that. Not like it matters. This is the one that hasn't been changed yet. So it's in a list of properties to modify in the registry. We also have a bunch of other stuff that the script didn't cover. We'll basically take each one of the properties and keys and then scramble the names from memory, and if anything queries the registry directly, you're not going to see anything. So I'm going to open up PowerShell, Control-Shift-Enter, open it as admin. I'm going to change directory to the desktop because otherwise we won't be able to call this. In my case, it's this path right here. You would change this to whatever your username is. As you can see, now we're going to type this command. And the reason we do this is because PowerShell will natively execute unsigned scripts. And since this is a virtual machine, we don't really care where it runs, so I'm just going to set this to unrestricted. Enter, an A, and now we're going to run the script. We're going to type in period, /V, and then tab to complete it. And we're going to supply the option all. Enter. And as you can see, it got straight to work. Don't worry about this. It just means that it didn't find anything and it went straight on. Now let's take a look and see what this did. Let's take a look back in the registry. You see all of these keys have straight. The list malware knew that it was going to find some highly random string. So refer to these, not seeing the word VBox or VirtualBox or Oracle, and think, okay, this is an actual machine based on this alone. Now there are other identifiers, like this one, which I didn't go over earlier, but this said VBox with 2 underscores. It got scrambled. This one, it looks like our script got to first. Same with this. This one looks like it didn't get. I'm going to change it, see if that does something. Alright, cool. So that's taken care of. I just went ahead and rename this because this gets stored in memory. As you can see, it's set the BIOS release date, go up to the program, and mount the 1999 version. There's a lot of stuff, which is good, but we can't get everything. There are still timing attacks and quirks with how the CPU executes stuff that programs like Alka-Seltzer here can detect. Not to mention, there's also a registry key that we can't change because it is active making it. And VirtualBox also will let you change it for legal reasons. And when you get there, we have to go to System, Control Set, Enum, and then PCI. These 3 keys are all VirtualBox identifiers. You may not be able to see it, but let me show you exactly why. Everything after Bev is a vendor ID, and everything after Bev is a device number. The IDs consist of 2 bytes, and they are specific to vendors. Intel, Dell, AMD, Asus, Lenovo, etc. So VirtualBox can't change its vendor ID because it would be breaking the law. And for the device IDs, malware could just query for the existence of this vendor ID or this this device ID, Cafe Eve. The only real solution to this is to compile VirtualBox from source in change these. I don't know how to do that. If you guys want to tell me how to do that, that'd be awesome. But I looked at the source code, and I'm not going to lie to you, I had no idea what was going on. But I guess, yeah, if you're a malware dev, this is what you would check pretty definitively to see if you have VirtualBox. But every vendor, every hypervisor has its own devices that have their own vendor IDs. So I'm sure you could find a list of them and then query for those directly. Any of that, links to the scripts will be in the description. I hope you get some use out of this, and obviously, educational purposes.
Since we're back in Crossmouth, I might as well check in on Connie this and get that whole trader thing sorted. Omniscient narrator here. This detour will cause a lot of pain. If we tell him the work on the trade house is almost done, that makes it done. Yeah. You know, let's actually go to Raven Rock and see what the trader has, because maybe they have something in stock that'll make the next two smugglers easier to fight. The place is shaping up nice. This interior seems like 10% too big. No need. What you got for me? 7. Lots of unusable potions, silver bolts, silver darts. Those might help with fighting werewolves. Some enchanted chrome stars. Those don't restock though, I'll get them anyway. Shock 3 to 7 points for 1 second. It could be worse, I suppose. You know, I'd be lying if I said I wasn't a little disappointed. Really not much of anything there. No matter. Back to the characters. Where's Gaia? I left her at the fort, didn't I? Man, these darts really aren't doing any good. Hey, I got a level. Damn it. Damn it. No. Did I just screw myself? Oh, good. Man, that would have sucked. The only thing worse would be saving during death. Surely that won't happen, right? Oh boy. Fine. Fort smuggler down. Time to deal with the leader. Sword? Okay, I need guy back. Man, I need to work on my crossbow. Man, Guy's aggro is hell.
Nerevar, you are manually breathing now, bitch.
Well, that was easy. I don't know why I didn't. Let's go report to the captain. Look at that. They added a more convenient pathway to the wall. That was nice. Bit messy though. Oh, there was an attack while we were gone. Pretty fast attack. According to Lester Solutions, Captain Dungon went missing while the fort was being attacked by strange wolf creatures. You must find this guy that's totally not a werewolf. Dude, I understand the subtext. Don't go blaming me for your fort's incorporated. So get an audience with the snob, the nature worshipping North natives this time. Lucius suggests I bring them skull and skull war. Personally, that seems a bit distasteful. If somebody put on my doorstep and presented me with my great uncle's skull, I'd assume they were here to start some shit. But Lucius is apparently
Nerevar, boot up cookie clicker. This playthrough boring as fuck.
First one can act, but whatever. And here we are in the skull loop. Hello, Tharston. Here to inquire about wolf monsters. So the good news is he's happy we brought him a new brain case. Bad news, he doesn't much care for the cure.
This is not your average multi-tool. It's the size of a
Do you think
credit card.
pedophiles know about
It's
milk,
known as the
Nerevar?
money clip on my wallet.
This skull said they would never dare
It
attack.
comes with
They
a
felt
pouch
well
that
watching
fits
the
very
Imperials
nicely in a breast pocket. It even fits in an Alfred stick. Like a transformer, it goes from a card to a pair of pliers. But should a multi-tool be this
I
thing?
am that right now.
Let's find out by putting it to the test. There's a slight gap between the tips of the pliers, but they bite just fine.
He gives us all the required paperwork for the task before us.
The pliers are very thin, but the jaw opening is fairly large, and they're able to turn this acorn thing. That's good. Now let's try those cutters. That was aluminum, let's try steel. And they work. Now some stranded electrical wire. Didn't cut it. Maybe it'll work if I cut it in a notch. Let's try it.
It's only a short bow, so it's not that great, but it'll have to.
Oh, it does work. It still pinches it, but I'm gonna give it a pass. Let's try the cripper. That was uncomfortable, but it did work. Next is the combination tool. On a liner lock. Starting with the wire stripper.
But some mods are stuck.
That works surprisingly well.
You know that's money.
You
But
can
if
also
don't
use
want
it
to
like
go south
this.
and find the movies, it's being attacked by
There's a ruler and bottle
easy
of
because
food.
bear attacks the damage.
This is
Or
a
if you get
spoke
the bear,
wrench.
already inspect, so you switch it.
And that does work. Package opener. Of course it works on tape, but the real utility is the plastic. Very handy.
I love that
This
bitch.
is
That's my
supposed to be a
fucking problem.
scraper. I'm not really sure how to use it. Well, on the other side it has a knife. It looks like a Tonto, but the tip is not sharpened. It does cut, but it didn't come very sharp. And this Phillips is in the way of sharpening.
Would you guys consider
So it's gonna
jacking
be
off
on.
to be a sport? I don't know about you motherfuckers, but I consider that
So
shit to
that's
be a
one
sport,
point for your
okay? If people can sit back and label goddamn golf, which is the boringest fucking sport in the world, a goddamn sport. If you can label that shit as a sport. If you can label goddamn fishing as a sport, I know damn well you can label jacking off as a sport. Like, think about it. What the fuck athletically are you really doing in
It's
golf?
just so easy to carry.
The Fallout nerds have spoken, and we know you need the Black Exit once you just as supposedly the upgrade Exit is just an upgrade version with an sticker, so instead of using parts from a Black Exit one to build the long-awaited Exit, the design itself is fairly similar outside of the feet. Of course, we don't need to get those pointy shoulders, but as always, the main difference and challenge is going to be the helmet. A few ideas so far, including helmets and returning silver one, but let me know if you've got a better idea. The Fallout nerds have spoken.
Craig, 100 matches and I'll let my grandma out. Date Sherry. Grandfather seeking companion for granddaughter. She suffers from
Nerevar,
poor
the
choice.
Oblivion remake is real. All of the anime profile pictures in my mentions were wrong. Cope and CP chronically online artists.
Tess, if your surname is Tickle, I might have to marry you. Ricky, don't buy Colgate whitening toothpaste. It says guaranteed whiteness in 14 days. It's been 2 weeks and I'm still Asian. Do you have any raisins? Yeah, plenty. You ruined my pickup line. Oh, my bad. Ask me again. Do you have any raisins? No. Well, what about a date? No. You ruined my pickup line. I'm crying. Look at this guy from my best friend's Tinder. Damn, are you even real? Real and transgender. What's transgender? Google. Oh, so it's like a search engine? I feel sorry for anyone who relies on dating apps to meet people instead of living in a bog and posing riddles to wayward travelers like me. Robert, 20. When you find your ex on Tinder at Anna, I may not be able to give high fives, but I can get us to the front of lines at Disneyland. Craig, 100.
Unethical life projects. I need a way to move 13 2,000-pound pallets of margarine side to side and then down into a 6-foot hole and then cover it with dirt. It must be quiet and fast. I'm not opposed to renting heavy machinery, but they must be quiet and operated in good conditions. For the record, I don't think there's anything unethical about it. It was recommended I post here and I'm desperate. The margarine cannot be harmed. No melting or changing the shape of any kind. Afterwards, I'll pick it up and whatever is left, I'll need to either dissolve in some kind of acid or burn it somewhere that has little
Nerevar,
Thank
did you know that in terms of
Unethical life
interspecies
project.
compatibility, scamps are actually the most summonable and engageable Daedra for companionship? Scamps are an average of 3 feet 3 inches tall and 63.9 pounds. This means they're large enough to be able to handle the dicks of both man and woman, and with their impressive base stats, you can be rough with them. Scamps are classified as minor Daedra, meaning they don't hold any complex social taboos. That's right, Nerevar. No limits. Not to mention their regenerative abilities and high endurance. No other summon comes close to this level of compatibility. Also, fun fact, if you have a high enough conjuration level and a few soul gems, it can wash the dishes afterwards. Scamps are literally built for human dick. Agility plus lack of a fixed corporeal form plus summonable means it can take cock all day, all shapes and sizes, and still come for more.
The mere sight of Cthulhu doesn't drive you insane. One of the most prominent misconceptions about Lovecraft horror is that Lovecraft wrote about creatures so horrifying that they go bad. This is an oversimplification, mostly due to the
Ritual of the tree can
despite his rampant racism and many intellectual shortcomings, gave to Lovecraft a very interesting, carefully crafted which he dubbed mechanistic materials. This view is a historic from around 1926 and is a source of existential dread both in stories and in love. In a completely materialistic universe, human actions have no significance, and that's a dreadful thing to realize we have to come back to a society which pretends everything we do has the greatest importance. Sometimes that may make everything go bad. A recent example may be the cult of
that infuriates millions of kids who have been told they have to go to school every day, suddenly realize okay, so they have suffered to look down, try, and solve with a little more. Then the schools open up again, and everybody pretends that everything is normal again. Kids, however, know this is true. There's a mental mismatch between how we pretend the system works and how they know they don't. And the results are, predictably, increased mental health issues and inequalities all over the world. Now let's take that. Suicide completely doesn't merely it reveals that the customer sufficient even reality itself is not merely fundamentally different. Everything you see
Carrying crossbow is really good for wildlife because it's going to take 3 or 4 shots from either crossbow to kill the thing regardless. So this is just same condition on the huntsman stuff. Oh, and we got level 6. Correct the audience. Now we're back at the halter. There are quite a few twists and turns in these caves with a lot of chests and many of them. As much as I love to roll the dice for better barrels, I don't think fighting around all of the droppers worth it. I think avoiding a drop is better than whatever the
The
chest
most merciful thing in the world, I think, is the ability to correlate towards something.
Yeah,
We live on a plastic island of sand. The
it's really hard to take from this seriously whenever it's going to be yeah.
And it was not meant that I should voyage far. The sciences, each straining in its own direction, have hitherto harnessed little. Someday the piecing together of dissociated knowledge will open up such terrifying vistas of reality and of our frightful position therein that we shall either go mad from their revelations or free from the deadly light into the peace and safety of the
Regardless, they have to help. And the goblins,
The 6 hours damage is ready for red and tonight.
it makes avoiding damage.
Galaxy XR has a problem. Samsung did a lot of things right with this device, but they went wrong. Unlike pretty much every other VR headset, the headband isn't detachable. But I have faith in Samsung. Let's see if we can figure out a way. I'm not really sure where to start, but I did find these little tabs, and inside them, there's a screw. The only problem is some of them are really hard to get to. But then I found these more screws, and this might actually let me detach the top headrest. Unscrewing that allowed me to remove this plastic piece, but nothing else, unfortunately. I've unscrewed pretty much everything I can see on the outside, but I think it's time to go inside now. While attempting to remove the front, I noticed it scratches really easily, but it's actually because there's just glass under here. This is a plastic screen protector. The front glass is held in by clips on the plastic frame, and we'll hit the Galaxy XR with an unscrew, which all seem to be the same size. Now we can remove this, which houses all the cameras and sensors. And that is the inside. To remove the headband, I think we have to unscrew these. We also have some flex cables to disconnect on both the right and left side. And it finally came out, but I think it's safe to say that Samsung didn't think this one through. Galaxy X, more useless facts about Dark Souls. At the end of the Asylum, you face your first boss, the Asylum. And this is where the game teaches you about punch attacks and using an environment. But if you make Big Cheese McGee down there way too long, he'll actually come up and smack you on the ledge. In Undead Bird, you'll come to a point where Hawkeye Drake comes down and jumps you. And then later on, it'll be breathing fire across the bridge that leads to the Sonic altar. But if you come to the bridge the back way and never trigger the dragon to fly to your Undead Bird, you will actually never perch above the bridge. In the Duke's Archives, when you first meet Seed, it's a scripted death and you're sent to prison. And even with the Lord Vessel, you can't warp away. If you sit at the bonfire from outside the cell, you can actually warp to the bonfire without getting hit. If you head to the DLC before fighting Sif and free her from her magical prison in the Abyss, they'll actually recognize you when you go back to space. You get a special cutscene of her remembering her scent, and it makes having to kill her all the more sad. More you... I think I found the perfect
Two layers of black
non-stick, but there's no coatings, non-ideal. Stainless steel works, but only when it's really hot. Tested out a ceramic pan last year that was awesome, but until it wasn't. Each coat of the surface breaks down over time. Cast iron builds natural non-stick, but it's just too heavy for one-handed use. Similarly, carbon steel is lighter, but it's prone to warping, and that happened to me twice. So when I found this pan, I had to test it. It's a multi-material or clad design, meaning it's made of layers. Stainless steel on the bottom for structure and stability, aluminum in the middle for fast, even heat, carbon steel on top of the cooking surface that builds its own natural non-stick layer. I just got this one from Strata Cookware, and it's the only one I've seen built like this. But straight out of the box, you can't use it yet. It needs to be seasoned first.
So, when it comes to non-stick, the real test is low heat. That's where stainless only struggles. Let's try it with an oven. Wow. I've been looking for an egg pan for years.
So I took a little
and I haven't
peeky
been
at your
able to
Steam
find the
profile,
perfect
Nerevar,
pan,
and I think we
I'm
need to talk
getting
about your
closer
hours
with
in
one from
Skyrim.
Strata or where-
They are far too few.
I think
Have
I've
you
got the
considered
perfect
quitting
egg
your
pan,
job,
right? It's like
breaking
number
up
one
with your
requirement
girlfriend,
is
and killing
non-stick
your parents to live off of the life insurance policy?
Stainless steel works, but only when it's really hot. Acoustic.
In my hand is the most venomous spider on the planet. Just kidding. If you're someone like me, you may have heard of that absurd myth growing up as a kid. This is what's known as a harvestman. Despite their spider-like appearance, they are actually spiders. They're still arachnids, however, since they possess a total of 8 legs. Out of all of the many differences between harvestmen and spiders, the biggest difference is that harvestmen are capable of producing silk, which is a trait that all species of spiders possess. Circling back to the most notorious myth about these arachnids is that they are said to be extremely venomous. This, of course, is absolutely false since all species of harvestmen lack venom glands. They also lack fangs completely. Despite what you may have heard about these arachnids, one thing that is true is that they're completely harmless.
Oh, that's kind of lumpy. What do you think it could be? We better check.
Oh my god, stupid. Stop going to the right.
Honey, are you hungry?
Bring a wall. Almost there. Come on.
Nerevar, I need you to take a picture with your ass out, and your back bent in with your pussy barely peeking through from a low angle with face in it, winking with your tongue out, and your feet in it, and your arches exposed and your toes clenched, and your torso at 3/4 rotation with your side boob, and your nipples just out of sight with a choker on and you're painted around your waist, with the middle pulled to the side, and your hands through the sides of the panties lifting them upward as your cheeks are out.
No, go left. Wait a minute. Darts are fast. They stagger as you go across the fence. It's less damage, sure. I don't care about damage. All I care about is staggering. Oh my god, again? Seriously?
Things you didn't know about Dark Souls. If you beat the 4 kings before obtaining the Lord Vessel, Rip Ingward, you might think you're stuck down in the Abyss. But the game has a soft lock prevention and you can warp from the Abyss bonfire. Just say hi to Cobb on your way out. Foes are down there with whips and fist weapons, except for my beloved Avalon. Did you know you can zoom in while aiming with a bow? I can only think of one use for this. On controller, it's up on the D-pad. On PC, I have no idea. After beating the Iron Golem, the Batwing demons bring you to Anor Londo, and you might think you're stuck here until you get the Lord Vessel, but the Batwings fly round trip and can bring you back to Sense. If you want to rescue Logan from Sense but don't have the patience to push the big boulder machine the right way, you can actually bait the Snake Man leaning up against the wall to do it for you. If you use a shield to block and have your back against the wall, eventually it'll break. Things you didn't know.
Poker. That's for paper. Not paper. Craft paper.
I don't know how much that affects you. I know higher athletics, but I don't know if dumping my hand.
What?
You know what? I have an idea, but I need to go back to Spider. I really wish I had Marcy or something. I should go walk a path around the way to the village, but
Now I get to use this special tool, one that I don't get to use all the time, but it's actually been pretty handy. I thought it might be a gimmick. See what it does? You tighten it down, and these little posts kind of all get stuck in one place, and then you loosen it, and they go back. And what it's meant to do is hold oddly shaped parts. It allows you to kind of hold it steady and rebuild the parts on top of it. I don't know, it's kind of cool. One interesting thing that I'll show you in a second here is the bottom of the screw that I'm putting in. Some real attention to detail on watches like this. They actually polish the bottom of the screw, which you'd think it's like, why? Like, who cares? Like, it's the bottom of the screw. But it's funny, if you look here, they actually show up on the other side of the automatic board. See right here, those are the bottom of the screws. You see those right there, right there? So they polish them so that they look really nice. Isn't that neat? Now I get to use this.
Enchant this ring with a 3-point pistol. My enchant level is 1, and my intelligence is 1. And that ring that we found earlier, the one that gives 7 points of enchant
This should do it. Before we dispel buildings and back to the water strong next, I want to talk to Lazarus and start this book. We're looking for Lazarus gives us a key for the world, and we can enter it through the foot of cure system. We find Tim Bob deeper in the cabin. It seems he's obsessed with the world.
Somebody wrecked my corner. Oh, brilliant. What if it's even worse than that? Anything. We fix it. Just gotta have the right tools and right knowledge.
Does the dye leak into the water? So putting yellow yarn in my aquarium, a lot of you guys are wondering, won't the yellow dye leach into the water? Is that bad for the fish? Well, the good thing about this yarn is 100% acrylic, meaning that it's not a dye yellow, it just is yellow. Like at its very, very base of the core, it just is yellow. It's not dye. A lot of you guys were also asking, should I have pre-rinsed the yarn before putting it in the tank? And honestly, you are correct. So the first time I did this, I actually forgot to pre-rinse the yarn, just because I wasn't thinking to do it. It was a plastic. When I normally put plastics in my tank, I don't pre-rinse them. But this being such a microfiber, plastic with so many little pieces, I definitely gave my goldfish an extra dose of microplastics by not pre-rinsing it. But honestly, not the biggest deal, but just for safe measure, it's probably smart to pre-rinse. Also, why not just use plants instead? Half the plants I use, they just die. I'm still trying to master growing plants in aquarium. Does the dock shark Siemens Leonard versus sausage bomb?
Cannot call me.
Oh, you have demon. Oh yeah, this no shark. No, that's the shark inside. The shark is the best. Hey, don't worry. Just bring out the real deal. Shark
This new machine works like sharks, including my hands already. Well, let's test its capabilities.
What a surprise. There's a cavern west of this small village. Pretty still. Yeah, good. And there's an item in there that I want to leave before we come to court. This cave is full of skellies, but they're pretty big. And even though a bunch of them have shields, it can't actually block ranged attacks from home. Kind of building spread away. How do you think he died? Here's the thing. A second hunting cross. Always get it back. Now that all the rituals have been performed, the power of the skull has been restored. Ours is part of that. Yours is really powerful. But it's useless this build, and it's really good. So we don't need it. Now Marcy wants us to do progress by solving that crime. Big more half-man than using our ice effect. He says that any harm goes furthest from his home. And sure enough, the birds were found in the section of the issue.
Hey, that's not bad. I like the sword. This big.
Exile or sacrifice to the Lord. If we search ice,
That feels easy. You can cope with that thing, huh?
Clearly written by he's mad that Reese's
Are there wolf spiders in this cranberry field? Well, let's find out. Now, there's a rumor going around that as a cranberry farmer, you make $150,000 a year minimum because of the danger cave.
Nerevar, I took about 13 caffeine pills and drank a white monster. I'm going to try to vibrate into the seventh dimension.
Spiders, let's see if today we can find some big spiders. This water is absolutely freezing, and I'm just not seeing spiders this year. By this time last year, I'd seen over 100 spiders crawling everywhere. Now, the rumor is that the spiders are put in the cranberries to help eat pests. Let's find out what's going on here from the actual cranberry farm.
Everyone's always asking, why is there so many spiders in the cranberries? We definitely do not put spiders in the box. So they aren't there to just like the box. No. No. Just a rumor.
Nerevar, I have to tell you.
There you have it. Mythbusters.
3 weeks of climbing and we made it.
His nostalgia was everything that I liked.
This is the most expensive believer, but not. I tested it. I tested if snakes actually chase people because I've seen a lot of people say that they do. So to find out the truth, I first found snakes and then put their behavior into 3 categories. The first is the snake runs from me. The second category is the snake sticks to me. And the third is the
I don't mean to be that
actually
kid,
this to
but
a test, and I
dragons for most
encountered
fantasy worlds have 4 legs and 2 wings. These quote-unquote dragons would be considered wyverns. Nerevar, don't give me that, oh, but the Elder Scrolls blah blah blah. They made elves racist and orcs green. Every other trope is copy-paste, even more so after we lost Daddy Kirkbride.
And I encountered 66 snakes out and in total 32 of them moved away from me, 33 of them stayed put, and 1 moved
towards me. It was this Northern Black Racer, but I can't say that it chased me because I stepped in front of it as it crossed through. So the truth is that snakes, and that includes cottonmouths, are not aggressively hunting people. Sometimes we're just bad at standing between them and where they're trying.
Are you struggling with IS3? After this ex-Aldi employee exposed the truth behind their cheap prices, you're not going to believe the reason why.
I used to work at Aldi. Let me tell you why it's so cheap. First of all, when you first get the job, they literally break down the company to tell you why everything is so goddamn cheap.
When you walk into Aldi, you see that you gotta put a quarter in the cart, right, to get the cart. But you get your quarter back, so therefore they don't need any money for it right there. On the cash register, you got to scan that shit fast as hell. At the end of your shift, they take you to the back room where you break down your shit to show you how much you can scan, and they're like, speed it up. And believe me, if you go back in there and they tell you you need to go faster more than 2 times, yo, it's out of there. They gonna find somebody faster to do this shit. And they also let the cashier sit down at the register. You don't got to be standing up to your feet all day. Aldi don't got no goddamn grocery bag. You have to pay for the grocery bag if you want to run your own.
And last, all their products come from Germany. None of this is American.
Me and Nerevar tunnel while we watch Smack DVD. I be licking this in Waz braids like.
With all things clear, we can report back to Thurston, but he's no longer afraid. Also, there's right here. Somehow managed to trick one into staying downstairs and go upstairs and catwalk. What's great is that
Nerevar, I have a game for you. I tickle your taint, and then you tickle mine. We take turns and the game doesn't end.
One right here.
But those two bad those right here, bad ones. We can leave you right home and find fortune just having a ride. To be between confident. He tells us that we've been infected with the world.
One right here. One right here.
Zanies Lupinus. Zanies Lupinus. Also, if you want to find a good thing, we'll be the world ourselves. Protect his right here. He tells us to leave to look here. I'll try to go the rest of the 2 days.
One right here.
Oh, I'm a good boy. I just need to chill a few nights every night, so I'm a good job.
Nerevar, I think I caught Ligma. Did you hear me, Nerevar? Nerevar, I said I think I caught Ligma. Nerevar, aren't you going to ask me what Ligma is? Please, Nerevar. Please, I need this win.
As Nikolai passed through the tornado area when he saw a family injured, he immediately went to them and took them in his car to help.
Get in the car! Get in the car! Open the door, get in! Come on, guys! Come on! Please get us! I need your phone! I got it from your room! I got it up on your plate, okay? Look at me later!
Do you know when the new sauce is corn? Put some next year out. It's not a big deal, honestly. But if I got a sneaky train, the whole world.
Yeah, I've got a storm chaser here on God.
That's an issue with that for this play. You got to be able to use that. Jump really fast.
My car right
In this moment, I could not believe his family survived the tornado. I mean, just look at their house. It just did not make sense.
Look at the injuries. I literally don't think it's possible. And I was putting on for the sake of transparency, open and just
The man immediately took them to the hospital and the injured survived. He is a local hero.
Sometimes I get asked if a OTF knife will go through my hands. Let's go ahead and test that out today. Here we go. Except, no, I'm not going to use my hand. We're going to use a good old piece of cardboard right here. We're not just going to use any regular dual action OTF. Today, we're using a single action OTF.
A strange question for you, Nerevar. Are you on the cream team or the squirt squad?
One single action, we have to make it really. So we're ready. Here we go, about an inch distance. It's going to look something like this. That was a hard hit right there. Actually, it came out barely to the other side. That quite a bit of a cold right there. I can tell you definitely will do a little bit more damage. Dual action OTF. So we'll go ahead and reload it, which looks something that way. And this time around, let's go ahead and a little bit further distance, like about so.
If we cured our one candidate inside of
There we go.
this part of the
Went
main
through it that
quest
time
would
as
require us to
well. So I can definitely confirm it definitely hits a lot harder than a single action OTF.
Why does she look like Dexter Morgan? I forgot to flush wash was on, my bad little bro. I have the cutest newborn. My wife does planks around the house and I come home to this absolute unit of a son. I'm dead. This baby looks like she really doesn't believe a thing you just said. Look, I've got your nose. And how come I can still smell your bullshit with you, Brenda? Riddle me that. My daughter loves to sleep with her butt in the air and it's the cutest thing. I thought she was in a microwave. This dude was staring at me on the plane trying to start. Yeah, he can hold his own bottle. Hey, I keep taking him out, but he won't. I'm going to kill you. Apartment for rent, $7,500 a month. Why do you let him eat sand? I don't like it. Dad, look at your grandson. Dude looks straight out of South Park. WTF, Dad. Identity theft is not a joke, Jim. Man, he looks like a younger version of me. This baby is a whole 7 minutes old and already fed up with life. This kid looks like he...
Maybe it would be, but I really doubt it. I'll do that as an exercise for me. So this is fun. Werewolves get boosted speed. It's almost 100. It makes it
Imagine how unlucky you would have to be 1, born a khajiit, and 2, born under the moon phase that turns you into a house cat. The gods must hate their people as much as I do. Can't even hold a skooma bottle due to their lack of thumbs.
Jesus Christ, I got you some goddamn blueberries.
Our claws are now stronger by something like 40%. Not bad. Thanks, Marcy. If we wait again, our virtual wood elf, and then actual werewolf, Marcy contacts us.
You know when somebody sends me VR gear in a shoebox, it's probably not going to be good, which makes me even more curious to see exactly what the damage is. Oh, they even left the shoe thing in there. I guess the advantage of sending things in the shoebox is that it doesn't come with its own packaging material. And it looks like we're working with the Quest 2 controller today. Ouch. The outer ring shell on this isn't cracked, which is good news. The bad news is this side has been lifted up and away, and it looks like it might be cracked. Usually when I see this lifting, that means that the LED ribbon that goes around the controller is torn. But sometimes we get lucky, and it's actually just been unplugged from the board. So hopefully that's the case. Now that I've got all the screws out, I can take this outer ring off. And it looks like that is torn, and this
You haven't been looking at my testicles again, right, Nerevar?
will destroy my spine. So I spent over 2,000 hours to realize that even without using the whirlwind sprint shout, there is a way to roll Mercer Frey's treasury filled with valuable gems right at the start of the game. To achieve this, head to the back of his mansion, which is located right next to the Temple of Mara. You'll need to pick an expert level lock, so make sure to bring a few lockpicks. Once the lock is picked, climb onto this bar, then jump onto the roof of the Temple of Mara and follow my movements. And when you're on the roof of the mansion, start moving left and right while pressing the jump button repeatedly. This will let you reach the very top of the roof, where you can jump directly onto the balcony. Pick the lock on the door to enter. Inside, deal with the 2 bandits and open the hidden passage. After that, run forward, carefully avoiding the traps set up by the leader of the Thieves Guild. At the end, you'll find a door leading to his hidden treasures and a decent sword, perfect for the early game. I spent...
An insect shrouded in various myths and often called by many different names, Jerusalem crickets are really quite docile insects in nature. Despite them being known for feeding on plants and other forms of organic matter, what some people may not know about these insects is that they will also happily feed both live and dead prey. Though not actually found in Jerusalem, these insects can be found in Mexico, Central America, and within various western states of the U.S. These large bobblehead-like insects can typically be seen crawling in and out of the ground searching for food. From my personal experience, I've heard many stories of people being fearful of coming in contact with the Jerusalem cricket out in the wild. The fear mainly stems from not wanting to get bitten by one. Despite these insects having both the capability and the potential to deliver a bite, they seldomly ever do so. As you can see in the video, it was quite challenging to get mine to work bite.
I almost guarantee that you've never seen this type of die before, even though it could be the D20 killer. So this is a regular D20. It has 20 sides, numbered 1 through 20, so each number appears 5% of the time. Obvious, right? Well, this is also a D20, but it has 60 sides. And this matters more than you think because of how those sides are arranged. This has the numbers 1 through 20 3 times
still a 5% chance of rolling each roll, but here is where it gets interesting. If this is physically and mathematically balanced to be one of the fairest dice ever made. And the reason why is fascinating, because the average roll on a d20 is 10.5. But if you look at the 5-face clusters on the 60-sided d20, like these or these, you'll find that the sum of those 5 numbers is always 52 or 53, making their average as close as possible to 10.5. This ensures the numbers are evenly distributed with no clusters of high or low values. These dice are also machined from aircraft-grade aluminum. Hey, you there? What's with the getup? Is that prisoner outfit some type of...
Excuse me, you live here? How long you been living here for?
I heard my baby crying for help. Stop it! I'm coming! I'm coming!
Oh yeah, it's normal for one here.
Put the goat down! Drop the goat! Oh my gosh, what is wrong with you?
So Cal for Robbie Melvin, this is Honeydew. This is not for you, that girl. Here, babe. They always gonna let you out. I know. There you go, sexy.
Hi, Bobby. Good boy. Whoa. Holy fuck.
Wobble! They don't want to play. I heard my baby.
Did you ever think about what would happen if you gave Ariel's bow to Harker? Here's what happens if you refuse to give it to him.
I'll give you a single chance to turn over the boat to me.
Very well. You'll leave me no
People thought this would be the hardest part. Not so. When we first
What
went
if
to
you
the
decide to hand it over instead? What could happen then? I actually accept it. Find out. I travel to Castle Borghoff with the back in hand. Argon was already waiting for me there, as if he knew what was coming. After a long, intense talk with his daughter, he finally turned to me and began an equally long conversation. And here is what happened when he finally reached the part of the dialogue where he asked me to give him the bow.
I'll give you a single chance to turn over the boat or not me.
I'm sorry, Nerevar, but you need to visit the face reconstructor in Richmond. Your mug's got some zits the size of Red Mountain. It's fucking gross, dude.
Serrano would sacrifice her blood for the sake of the prophecy, and I feast upon yours, Moonlight Balls.
Did you ever think of this as one of the earliest X-rays that was used for purposes?
But the question is, does it work as a sport?
We were standing in the way, so we got a fight. He was a robot this whole time. Takes on complete. But little does he know, I haven't been using even 10% of my full power. Second verse, down to first. Run. Using his own DNA from Carson's corpse. And that's not it. The final fight before we confront Garrison himself is against the flash-down Carson.
Pass me the Ox Nerevar. I want to show you my sound
You
cloud.
might have found this guy ghost. I considered reverting to widow form and just hitting him.
So, why are there eggs and tentacles growing out of grass?
No, they're not baby aliens or monsters. They are mushrooms. And they've made themselves at home here in the New Forest and other parts of the UK after travelling all the way over from Australia. They start their life under the soil and emerge as an egg that some people like to refer to as a witch's egg. The fruit body then hatches out of the egg, and the tentacles contain a slimy, dark spore mass. Ooh, this stuff smells like sweet, pooey, rotten meat, and so attracts flies, who will then fly off and unknowingly spread the spores elsewhere. And yes, you might have seen that some of us weird mushroom enthusiasts like to take an egg home and watch it hatch. And based on previous experience, I recommend you don't keep it inside the house.
That actually stinks. So,
topic of the vent. I need to vent. Hit me. There's a pregnant stingray in North Carolina, and there was 0 male stingrays in the enclosure. They think she either self-reproduced, sting Jesus, or one of the 2 male sharks in the encounter got her knocked up. Shark Ray. Huh? Never in a bit.
Critical Monsters Explained, the Gambit. The Gambit has 150 HP and...
What are you doing? I was 17 years old when I realized I wasn't a Native American. I would fill out those self-ID forms, and I would always put Native American, because I would look through all the options. I'd be like, yeah, that, I guess. My counselor called me into the office my senior year of high school. She was like, Brandon, you keep putting this, are you Native American? And I was like, I have intuition. Like, I'm not a smart kid. Like, I have intuition. So she asked me that. I was like, maybe not. I don't know what is that. And she points out all the options. She was like, you're Caucasian. And I looked at this woman and I was like, I was 17.
Games that punish you for being too good. In Madden NFL, if you dominate an online match and go up by 21 points in the first quarter, the game gives your opponent a special option to forfeit early. On your screen, a message appears congratulating you for your skills, while also admitting the matchmaking paired you against someone far weaker. You're told to move on to more interesting opponents, while the other player is spared from being trapped in a hopeless game. In Devil May Cry 5, the prologue throws you against a seemingly impossible first boss. The design expects you to lose, because this enemy is meant to feel overwhelmingly powerful. But if you refuse to give up and actually
I just ordered a
manage to win, the game
55-gallon
ends
drum of
right
lube
there.
off of
A
Iliac
message
Bay.
appears on
We
screen.
are going to have
Indeed,
fun
this
today.
was the perfect conclusion all had hoped for. The sarcasm drips through the text, mocking you for fighting so hard just to unlock a fake ending that cuts the entire story short. In League of Legends, there's a legendary item called Jackshow the Protean. Normally it functions like any other piece of gear, but if you're performing unusually well while carrying it, something bizarre can happen. At the end of a match, an automated
Here's your
message
Dagoth
suddenly appears.
Headspace
Jackshow
update.
deems you worthy and has absorbed your power. Your champion immediately dies on the spot.
Games that you see boxes of them being shipped. So Mr. Lobotomy here lost.
So, the rules. No bugs or glitches, no fortified loot with alchemy, and no armor or weapons.
Throughout the history of From Software's games and the developments, it is no mistake that they've become known primarily for the Souls franchise, and likewise that genre. But as of late, we've been with titles like Elden Ring.
The difficulty will be set to 100 just because it makes the game more interesting. Oh, also, no buying training from trainers, otherwise I'd be unable to resist min-maxing. And that's the fun. We'll be playing with the OpenMW engine, the iHeart Vanilla Mod list, a collection of graphical improvements, bug fixes, and quality of life tweaks. The goal of this run is to kill all the gods, or defeat in the case of your scheme. What's your name? Our name is questioned because we'll be axing people a lot of them. Now that I say it out loud, it doesn't actually make any sense. Whatever. I already decided on that name, and that's what I'm going. We'll be going the Berserker route, summon your gear, and break some bones. Nord or Orc would be the best choice here, but we'll go with Nord for the extra bonus to axe. The bound battle axe is pretty strong. Number one, for majors, of course, we're taking axe and conjuration with the bread and butter. Also acrobatics and athletics because I like being able to move fast right at the start of the game. Alchemy because restore health and fatigue potions are pretty easy. For minor skills, no real thought process, just some skills that help me be useful. Speechcraft, mercantile, unarmored, security, and strength and endurance are our favorite abilities because of course they are. And we'll take the lady sign for extra endurance. Although we're playing on max difficulty, I actually think we'll scale against the enemy rather well enough that the extra health from the extra endurance should provide a bit more spectacle. I don't expect we'll be getting one shot constantly. I hope. Take your ring, Margoth, I won't be here. Simple start to the run, go to Balmora, and loot all the stuff in the crates in Earthrealm City. Alchemy supplies, soul gems, potions, random goals and crumbs. Join the Fighters and Mages Guild, take stuff from your chests, and sell everything I don't need to get with here. Then we can use the guild guide to go over to Caldera, and we can still keep Master Alchemy set there before buying some spells from Badila and Dharma. Found Gauntlet, Spear, Helmet, and Mace. By default, these spells summon the equipment for 60 seconds, but we can use spell making to make longer durations. We can even bundle some of these spells together to summon an entire set of gear in one cast. I sold all my clothes to Galadir, so I need a little bit of something just to cover myself up a bit. For some reason, a red skirt feels like it goes the best with the Berserker theme. I mean, there's actually no spell to summon Greaves, so it's not like I'm missing out on anything anyway. Also, fashion supersedes effectiveness 9 times out of 10. That's also why I won't be getting a bound verse. Gotta stick to the theme. Gotta stay shirtless. While we're here in Caldera, let's buy an Amulet of Recall from Barrett Germany. I have no intention of Detonation training spell. Summon Bound Helmet for 1 second. In Morrowind, you get the same amount of XP regardless of the strength of the spell you cast, so the best thing to do is to make the spell that's very, very weak and very, very easy to cast so you can get as much XP as possible without having the rest restore your magic. In this case, train with armor instead of a weapon is better because when you summon a weapon, you put your weapon stance and you have to put your weapon away and take out your spells again because your hands are different. I guess you have 2 sets of hands. You have weapon hands and you have magic hands. Conjuring armor, keep your spell hand up. The second spell we'll make is the Bound Battle Axe spell for 180 seconds. The cast chance is low, but as we level up, this spell will become more and more reliable. Now, Karya of Whitehaven will buy me a Master Alchemist spell for just under 2,000 subjects, and we can steal another one from her crates. We can steal her Grandmaster one from Pestle of Luck. We can do a bit of shuffling of ingredients with Jira to make some tea potions, while also increasing her supply of gold, so she can buy a bunch of the stuff I stole from Karya. Okay, after all that, we're sitting at a healthy 3,000 subjects. I also got a couple of options, and I have some potions. Let's make some more spells. The Bound Gauntlet spell not only summon the gauntlet for each hand, but together they provide 10 points of fortification to hand and agility. Because spears are good for training endurance, but spear is one of my miscellaneous skills, so it's pretty low level. Pairing the Bound Glove spell with the Bound Spear spell should help my accuracy just a little bit. 120 seconds on both seems pretty good. Damn it, Dark Brotherhood. Well, no better time than now to test the spear, huh?
You have my attention.
Oh, wow. Yeah, the strength of Bound gear kind of levels out as you get into the harder content, but early game is pretty strong. Before getting into the main quest, I want to do Nina Albert's first few quests. It's mostly just a bunch of fighting quests, but the reward is pretty good. Let's just rapid fire through it real quick. Get a copy of the Chronicle of the True Life easily bought at your recent bookshop and got more. With the season thickness of fetch a potion from Skinny Tree Shade and Cedric Moore, steal the chip charge of the good and zero line when you come back. Big spell that summons a set of quick, max out the 2 bucks for 60 seconds. This isn't part of a game's quest, but I can stuff through the walls and meaningless spells. Go to Margon and check out what's happening. It's hut. Oh, it's Scam. Kill it. Whoops, he killed me first. Unlock the door, take a man. He's fine. Between the tab and the status of the taking man, but I'm gonna return the chip to the once it's back in Sarlong's possession, you know what is for amulet of obsidian and find the packet. Now let's do something with a bit of challenge. Getting the amulet of Mark. It's in the cave Shurenthal outside of Narmon. Could I just use scrolls and potions of Mark? Yeah, but having amulets. The enemies in this place are level 10-ish, so they're pretty strong given I'm only level 1. But I'm supporting Ethereal Daedra, so I shouldn't do it. Look at that. I got hit and didn't die immediately. Still took the size of a chunk of damage though. This challenge might feel more fair. How fun. I hope I don't regret saying that. Okay, so 3 hits instead of 1. It's like a retro platform. The Zelda game. That actually gives me an interesting idea. I can learn how to play this game. Hello, Archer. Let me ask you a mini. Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I really regret not using spears in my tribunal or level 1 playthrough. They're just so good. Why didn't I take spear as a major skill for this run? Because Battle Axe, the big strong, spear the fast and far, but not as big strong as Battle Axe. Berserker need big strong. See, now that we're all set up with the teleportation tool, we can get started with the main quest. I won't go into a ton of detail about the story since I've already talked about it a lot in other videos, so if you really want to know the story in detail, watch my talk or play the game yourself, which really good. I would go as far to say that I like it. Following the footsteps of the sexiest man this way in the Nickname Bay, we too shall refuse to wear a shirt, and the first task Caius gives us is to get a Journal Puzzle Box for Hashtag and Bonus. Classic quest, iconic quest, off to Arkham. Is the element of surprise that gets you? I wonder if this is an OpenMW thing, but I've noticed NPCs won't ever use attacks that you can resist. Normally, Snowy Granius, Normally, Snowy Granius would use shock spells, but Mords have a 50% shock resistance, and instead Granius is using fireballs. So far, so good. A bit inaccurate, but that's the big thing. See, I want to get spear levels so I can get some endurance attribute points, and I want to do it sooner rather than later, both because the enemies are weak right now, so accuracy is not too big of a deal, but also the sooner I get 100 endurance, the more health I'll get over the course of this run. When the fights get riskier, I want to live on the downlines. It's more accurate and be stronger. Now, we don't have to fight these guys, but XP is XP, and it's fun to fight. I did the running and crying and flying in Solstein. I want to have a little bit of fun. Sorry, Credo, but that's just the way it goes. We got a skull for Sharn, an orc who's totally not a necromancer, and that skull is in the Andromeda segment. Simple enough. I suspect archers will be a long-running issue during this run, but I don't understand why. Is my vertic chest not oily enough? Can I not deflect these arrows? Dude's skull? Cool. Unarmored skill book? Cool. Aren't all skill books unarmored? Aspat has his puzzle box. Sharn's got her skull. 2 skulls now, actually. Or more. It's just that one of them is occupying a critical space that Sharn is likely reticent about relocating. These 2 tasks were to learn a bit more about the Evergreen cult, the 6th house, prophecy, etc. And no matter how promptly we finish these tasks, Caius still won't give us more to do until we hit level 3. So we gotta go explore. I was wandering around the Shulk Mine, killing foragers and occasional poacher, when I had a thought. Just because we haven't been given the quest yet, that doesn't mean we can't do some work that's required for later quests sooner, right? Eventually, we have to go to Carter and get a few items, and we'll have to get that bow right at the end of the barrel count. What if I just went ahead and did that now? I'm only just now getting to level 2. Surely the adventure to Coggeron and Coggeron adjacent places will go to level 3, right? I've said it before that Coggeron is a great place to test out a build due to its variety of enemies, but I've never actually gone there until probably a few levels into the market. How much harder would Coggeron be at level 2? Let's find out. East of Kulwigo. This will make getting back to Caius a bit less convenient, but I'd rather make the trek to the Urshulaka campus a few times if possible, so I'll place my mark here for later, after I kill this scam that followed me from Astra Navitashmi. Say that right? Astra Navitashmi. Yeah. We'll start with the barrel gun. I wonder if the rate of Sul Seneful is even in here. If you don't get the quest from Swim and Tool, the ghost just not spawn.
Talos was seen. Where, Nerevar? Oh my god, show it to me, Nerevar. Send it to me, please.
Where are all the skeletons? There's... Oh, well, they only managed to find it. Something's telling me the ghost won't be there. Oh, the Lord had the bow.
Rah! Nerevar, I just dropped 5,000 of your septums on a big titty Dunmer streamer. She said my name on stream, Nerevar. She said it out loud. All of those cucks in chat heard. We're so back. Let's go!
Whether they're actually here right now, different story. The bow is in the caverns. It's okay. There's a house.
Just took 5,000.
They attack slowly and but the magic ball they place on you has a long burn, and it can easily kill you. Little Snoop is dead. We'll grab the cup. We'll grab the weavings. Now we just gotta find the shield. I want to try killing one of the sleepers though. The squid face guys, they're kind of tough. Use one attack. Oh. That was terrifying. Oh my god, they can talk? How?
Have you asked yourself why you are doing the Zoro's bidding?
Because the shirtless guy told me to get a bullet bomb. Alright, you're tougher than you look. Gonna have to employ the foolproof strat of hiding behind an obstacle while putting on a magic gun. Idiot. But they're gonna be passive. I wonder how much safer the deeper parts of Corner will be. Will there be no ash slaves? I know we will give you some more ash slaves if you go there before you give them a quest to kill Dagoth, so maybe this place is the same. Seems pretty dead. Much like the slaves, am I right? Because they've been resurrected by the heart of Organ. Although arguably they're just projections produced by the heart itself to cause the destruction of the Kakarnak's enchantments binding into Nerd. Perhaps even Dagoth Earth is just copying a form of Dagoth's essence that was printed on the 100,000 year ago. We'll sell this last one. Oh, well, there's still fire atronachs here. And they have a powerful dot. Not that there was really anything about that. We'll just skip it for now. Oh, I thought that was a new cell. This is awkward. Pardon me. Damn it all. Oh, there's an ash slate. I guess journal updates triggers certain spawn points and not others, and the Coggeron sewers must be unaffected by the Coggeron quest flag. But upstairs is kind of affected, but not really. I don't even know if that's how Morrowind is designed, but I mean, clearly there's some sort of scripting because otherwise the Ascended Sleepers won't pop. But if you come here before you get a quest, they will. So there's something interesting going on there. Ah, Frost Atronach. Your frost spells do nothing. not too good. Come on. Hit me. Hit me. Yeah. You can. Accuracy, huh? Fantastic. The shield's here. I figured it would be, but I had this wriggling feeling in my gut. I could just leave right now, but I want to fight the Ash Vampire. Oh, and with these data comments. He's going. You'd think, after all this time, I'd learned to bring a sizable amount of restore strength, especially when I know I'll be fighting a rare opponent. I guess I'll just drop a bunch of stuff and fight the Ash Vampire, and we can stay. That's part of the challenge. Yeah. Ugh. Yeah, it's not that he sounds scary. In fact, he just sounds like a normal guy. But when that droning, gnarling cave ambiance is interrupted by a whispery, all-up-in-your-ears voice, it's quite startling. I don't feel the music on, by the way. It makes it any easier. So everything's pretty quiet most of the time. Alright, so Ash Vampire is pretty strong. But let's just go with that. I figured a bit of range with the spear would be good, but when my strength is damaged this much, I gotta extract as much power from my weapon as possible. There we go. Let's pick all this stuff back up. Convention, drop it again, restore our stats to the shrine, pick my loot back up again, and wonderful. But I'm still not over it. I think our best option is to wander around aimlessly, kill wildlife, like a throwmer. I guess I could cast my conjuration training spell over and over again, get a conjuration levels, but I still want to max my endurance, so I'll learn on the purpose side with my hand on my spear should get me one acrobatics, athletics, and maybe on armor wall. Yeah, it would take too long, so I just spam my conjuration training spell. Over. You're probably wondering why I'm here, east of Satanine, in such an iconic location. How could you not tell that it's east of Satanine? Well, I want to grab the Microwave Ring. As far as unique items go, it's pretty cool, but it's good without feeling alarmed. It's in the Marcy ancestral tomb, past the ghosts, the skeletons, and the bone walker, inside a trapped urn labeled Lord of Grim. It fortifies intelligence and willpower by 10 points each. It'll make summoning my gear just a bit easier. Another one. We can get on with the list. Caius wants us to get more information, so we're off to question some people in the city of Quebec. Did you know you can get Leah to kibosh your bookshop without having to fight the Dunmer harassing him? If you raise and hit this Savil's disposition high enough, they'll just tell you to get lost. Leah is a monster in combat, though, so that's all he needs now. We'll still have a copy of the Progress of Truth over here at the bookshop. Then we get some information about the Mara group from Mara Milo. Hopefully the Tribunal Temple doesn't learn that she's been disseminating the Septic Doctrine. That'd be tragic. Finally, here. Normally you have to go talk to her in the sewers, then deal with the tax men and the waste bros, then go back down to the sewers to learn what she knows about the 6,000. Instead, I'll taunt the taxman until he attacks me. This way I can kill him before getting in here, and she'll tell me what I want to know immediately. No backtracking. And because he attacked me, it was self-defense, so there's no body. Before returning to Caius, we'll stop by the Talbani Canton to buy some scrolls of Luke's Hand of Heaven from their enchanter. 50 points of levitate in 30 seconds. You can get inexpensive rising force potions from Danzo and Dulays in the Temple Canton, but these scrolls give you faster levitation. Now we need to learn about the Ashlanders tribes. Ashlanders? What's that? A camp? Where could that be? Oh, who knows? I've never been there. Well, if we butter up Hassar Zain Subani, he'll tell us what we want to know. Yeah, guys, there is an Ashlander camp east of Kull, northwest of the Dunmer stronghold of Covert, just outside Asher Nagatashmi, northeast of Druskashti and Bethumkos. Zain Subani said it was north of Margan. Well, I guess technically, but my direction is C. Better. Wow, my recall spell brought me right to the camp. Oh, the serendipity. Am I worthy to speak to the Ash Tribe? I don't know, Zabo. How does 200 gold sound? You order me, Outlander. That's my darling Dunmer voice. I doubt that about an initiation rite for the school? Why, whatever could it be? Get your dad's bow from the Ursula burial cavern? Man, are you in luck? Do you think that would actually satisfy something in my life? Go get me the thing. I already have the thing. Oh, that thing, that doesn't count. I think no matter how much they wanted the thing, they'd be a little upset by how predictable it proved to be. Kind of not really know if sale or not. So we get more narrative information from Bonnie Mesa, and when we return to Caius, he tells us to go execute a raid on the 6th house base, Illimini. Like Coggerin, this place is full of 6th house enemies. Unlike Coggerin, most of those enemies are ash slaves, and ash slaves are somehow one of the hardest enemy types to fight, and I'm not sure why. Their shield spell boosts their defense if they take less damage, but it feels like it boosts their evasion, so you can't friggin' hit them. And they have a ton of magic, so they keep casting spells at you, and their fists are made out of concrete. Admittedly, I'll
Takes their kids to pageants. I can like
vicariously live through my viewers, because one of my viewers got contacted by Raven. It's the same fucking scammers, because you can tell it's the same interview format. It's just a different server called the Black.
You know, I've been thinking on ways to get our money up. With all these corpses in our wake, we could probably make a lot of money displaying them in the children's diary. It's not like we
other
can't have Marcy or Elon's Twitter around if they want to see a dead body. We would be doing the user service. They could even leave the septums in the victim's mouth, like a coin slot.
Unlimited attention, phone and video chats, and a slice of antiseptic. Turns out my viewer who was going through this as a girl, but that didn't stop them. Because one of the e-girls sent a PayPal dummy, like, to send money through PayPal. They asked to send through friends and family, which means if you send the money, it's harder to get a refund. Now, just in case you were curious, I am censoring the link because I think they stole someone's PayPal. I genuinely think they stole a PayPal account from a girl. It feels like it also got hacked. Everybody watching, just take a moment of silence, because my viewer told me, and I quote, the fact is, I buy it, and no e-girl comes, and I got kicked out with the group chat. I can't do it. I can't. I don't know how people fall for this. Anyways, I think the worst part about this scam is not only the mental health crisis, but they have a text channel called Us with a photo of a woman. Now, I do this with every girl that I meet, well, zero. I search the image with Google Lens, and Google Lens tells me that this is Erica Blonde. Who would have known your voice? It's just an OnlyFans. All the scammers did is just steal someone's OnlyFans photos and people are like, I gotta pay. Anyways, in terms of my CSI Miami investigation, I looked up this alt account on Google, which, by the way, still hate it, but it sure is useful when we're looking at scammers. And you can see that this scammer, turns out they're just all distributors. You can see Diabetes Asia Org. It's obviously a woman alt account. Another woman alt account. Julia loves pineapple. Something about making things taste sweeter or something, I wouldn't know. And then we have their main account, Little Nemo 423, which I searched up their messages in Mega Paradise e-girl server, and they said, and I quote, any e-girls interested in joining my OnlyFans agency trying to get 10K with the new girl by the end of the month. You're trying to cold call for me. I'll pay you $4,000 each client you bring. DM me for more info. I don't know if this dude watched Andrew Tate made it his whole entire lifestyle, but this dude is a piece of shit. Now, ladies and gentlemen, take a sip of water because you're about to experience some existential thirst. Because in the case of the second scam, I genuinely lost my faith in humanity because I have no idea how dudes are this thirsty to fall for such a freaking stupid scam. Because a viewer of mine, you know, someone who, if you're watching my videos, you are probably more scam aware than most people. They reached out to me and they said, forgive me, for I have sinned. I fell for a Discord romance. And they sent me screenshots, and holy, this is bad. My viewer told me that they went on a Doki Doki Literature Club Discord server. If you know what that is, I'm sorry for your loss. But someone in the server said, yeah, someone, Nitro please, I need Nitro, Discord Nitro. They instantly replied saying, are you an e-girl? Yes, e-girl. Pray. I am a e-girl. And I don't know if they are a wizard casting a spell or something because they started DMing. Hey, Nitro, please, Nitro. My viewer said, now I was fully prepared to start censoring things, having to act out 50 Shades of Grey, but fortunately instead I got yeah, this is the most terrifying thing I've ever seen. Nitro is delivered. Thank you. No problem. Can you be my e-wife? If you want. They start sending each other gifts of, can I invite you flirting per chance? At this point, they have to be cool with me because when I see dudes send me shit like this, I'm fucking cringing. I like your music taste. Are we about to kiss? I gotta go. My phone is at 1. Good night. Good night, mommy. Sorry, I just chipped my tooth with my 9mm. Now, ladies and gentlemen, fortunately, there is a happy ending to this, and it doesn't involve that 9mm. It turns out my viewer told me, and I quote, when I woke up, they belonged to me. Anyways, they contacted Discord support saying, I was on Discord when someone asked for Discord Nitro. They said they'd be my friend if I gave them the Nitro, so I did. We talked for a while, and then I fell asleep. When I woke up, I noticed that they don't even have Nitro anymore. If they won't use the Nitro I gifted, I want the gift back in my inventory so I can gift it to someone who will use it. I also think they scammed me because they
They said they'd be my friend if I give them nitro, but now they're not responding to my messages. This might be a part of a more elaborate scam where people pretend to be e-girls, which also conveniently, only towards the end of the report, they talk about them being e-girls. Please help me get my nitro gift back. Some Discord employee is staring at their computer, reading this. And they send them like a copy and paste canned response talking about the gifting system. And my viewer strikes back, putting their whole, sincerely, their full name, saying, I need the gift back in my inventory because they claimed it and then somehow gave it to someone else and they claimed to be a Discord e-girl in order to get me to send them the nitro. It's definitely a part of a more elaborate scam that collects Discord nitro gifts off of people pretending to want romance from the person sending the gift. So it's a classic romance scam and I should get my gift back as a result. Thank you. And fortunately, Discord let them down easy. They said, hey, full name. Oh, I see. I can imagine how disheartening this situation is. Anyways, upon review of the transaction, it's no longer eligible for a refund. F and chat. F and chat. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you. The person, the viewer that sent this to me, they said they were like 16 or 15. And I don't know what this dude was expecting, but I hope they got like a good life lesson from this. But for this third and final scam, the next generation goof, it is truly going to be the downfall of not just goofers. This is going to paint the downfall of humanity itself. Because again, a viewer reached out to me, and this time they stumbled across this Reddit profile called Miss Peachy23. Now, Miss Peachy23 asked some people if they could be your good girl. Yes, I can. And at this point, I'm really judging if my viewer just accidentally came across this Reddit account. But remember, I'm a Discord channel. And fortunately for me, ladies and gentlemen, I get to talk about this because they have a social link to their Discord server. And this Discord server is called Emma's Dream. I just really wish someone would snap me out of this nightmare. But when I joined the Discord server, ladies and gentlemen, the first thing that I saw was this menu channel. Where just like in Subway, you can have it your own way. Because they have different channels like GFE, which is, and I quote, the Asian Girlfriend Experience. Where for 2 weeks and $135, you can have an Asian girlfriend. $200 a month, $250 for 3 months. Yeah, can I get one of the men with the foot long? Apparently that's not an option. But there's stuff like content, which I can't even show any of that shit, man. You can have sweepy play. I hate myself. Now, here's the problem. This by itself is not a scam. If I call this a scam, it'd be like me saying the hub is a scam. Because I realize that the man and the two women in the video I'm watching genuinely don't love each other. If this is just an OnlyFans model, I can't call this a scam because we're paying for an adult service. However, this is a scam. And the reason why I'm saying that is because when I passed the Welcome channel, if I go to the About Me channel, I noticed that they had an OnlyFans account. But when I went to their OnlyFans page, it's not available, which was the first red flag that told me I should look deeper into this. I say all that stuff as if I wasn't looking through the channels and seeing people like this, which, by the way, my eyes are up here. Yeah, I'll censor that so this is not like a goon video, but this is in the verification channel. This is to verify that this is a real woman, and I just want to play the video.
Tells us the plan to be taken over. We must give the average tools on the hard work and several channels to be unplaceable. This should defeat the occur once and for all. But
something seems a little bit off. Now, unfortunately, I had to censor the ginormous cleavage that was on the screen, but if I removed it, it doesn't look like normal cleavage. If you look at cleavage reports for all dudes, you'll know something felt a little bit off. Or maybe I just got carried away and started looking at previews because boys will be boys. They have a tail in their mouth. I wonder what. I don't really know what to say, but I saw this GIF, and as I was looking at the thighs, I noticed this woman's got some crazy form of cancer because this mole is migrating across her thigh. Now hold on a second, I hear you haters yelling in the comments already. No text-to-speech, you've never seen a woman in the flesh before, and you're goddamn right, I haven't. So that means I must dig further. I forgot, I just got jump scared by this. What was I saying again? Okay, anyways, I had to dig further, and I came across this preview, which I have to censor the emoji because I have to censor a lot, okay? Me in the future that's editing this, how are you feeling so far? Wonderful, I hope you're doing well. Is it too big, or I'm too small? Can't even stay stuck inside. And I'm just gonna cut to the image, and fortunately I actually get to crop it. I don't need to censor anything else. But then as I looked closer in the photo of this woman in the washing machine, I noticed something. This is a front-loaded washing machine with one of those glass windows. And here's the thing, that big old glass porthole that shows your laundry, that's a f***ing door You have to open the door. If you look at this image, which most people won't be looking at this image because editor me, you're gonna have to censor this. Most people are gonna be focused on the other parts of the image that I have censored. But if you just look a little bit closer, you'll notice that the door is not open on this washing machine. She is phasing through the glass door of the washing machine. This is AI. In fact, I got a ping on the Discord server to this screenshot of two of them. Yes, because there's also a twin experience for some reason, because this person has two accounts, which are just their alt accounts, of course. And it's this photo of these two women who have pumpkins on their head. And you notice that these pumpkins are just, they're obviously AI generated. Like, this hole does not make sense. If you ever cut a pumpkin, know that pumpkin skin isn't this, like, weird behavior. And you might be thinking, no, text-to-speech. That is a specific made pumpkin helmet. It's not. If this was actually, like, a mass-produced pumpkin helmet for adults, they would be the same. You'll notice that the hole is in a different spot than this hole. This is clearly fucking AI. This is an AI woman trying to sell you photos of her doing whatever you want, because it's easy to just type into whatever they're using. Asian woman with ginormous features doing like, no, hear me out, boys. I'm not talking about these two goth girls with a pumpkin hole in wood, but I'm someone that keeps tabs on the AI scene, because ever since graphics cards became $1,500, I'm trying to figure out why the fuck that's the case. But they're saying that the end game of AI is artificial general intelligence. ChatGPT will be as smart as a human and it won't tell me to eat glue. But tech CEOs, hear me out, because the end game for AI are AI goo machines. Jarvis, increase the cookiness by 33%. Yeah, Jarvis, make her bosom and her cheeks 999% bigger. Okay, I'm getting a little off the handle here. Let's get back on topic and talk about this scam. Now, we know this is an AI woman, but how is this a scam? And the important context that you need is provided in this conversation here. Emily pinged everyone, and then White Rage just said LOL out of nowhere.
The war chief is body blocking, so that's nice. How do I handle this?
Oh fuck, I ate all those ingredients you gave me and I'm tweaking the fuck out right now, Narabar. By the 8, I'm geeking.
He is Pete Gooner, but instead of being transparent with people, instead they say stuff like, he is afraid we think he was killed. Some people really believe in this.
A dark elf battling with childbearing hips. Yeah, I'd give up godhood for that.
I suspect the elf are trying to bring me a bit of trouble though, just because of how fast they are. And we don't have any way to take advantage of their significant elemental weaknesses this time around. Probably not smart to play through it. I assume the damage you do to an enemy armor durability is directly proportional to the damage your weapon deals. That's why I love to use chunky two-handed weapon. An enemy can only block a handful of times before their shield just breaks. A fast, weak weapon would get blocked way more often before the shield breaks if it breaks at all. For someone with medium armor, he sure is eating these things. I'm not gonna bother. After sorting out the gods of problem, we now need to escort a priest to the shrine of the dead under mortal. I hope you know I'm standing. These weeks so better because we've been hanging back while we clear up the skeletons and ghosts, and there's one dark from them. I don't know what happens if the priest dies, but it's not this dumber as part of the super duper dark gang.
Narabar, I am in so much pain. You think you could just, I don't know, maybe put a pinky in and tickle it? Nothing more than a pinky. I'm still in training.
Oh, bone lords instead of skeletons. Neat. This is part of Marvel's pseudo-skills. Oblivion does this too, where it level affects the type of enemies that spawn at certain locations. But I think in Oblivion, unlike Marvel, those enemies still have very low levels because their own bracket scaling for wrong. It can be a bit more punishment, at least in my experience. It's a difficult balance. I think it works better in Skyrim because there's no strict attribute system like in Marvel and Oblivion. It's hard to level wrong in Skyrim. I'm sure you can do it, but it's harder to do it. I guess if you put 1 point into every skill tree before putting a second point in, that might make things kind of tough. But for the most part, you gotta put in extra effort to make a bad Skyrim. Maybe I'm too much of a casual gamer degenerate, but I prefer a perk system like that in Skyrim. Level in those games feels more than just some of the luck. Although admittedly some perks are just, do 10% more damage. Regardless, it's why I their bone walker die for 2 hits. That's good. But they're resummoned soon after they die. Bad. But my family only use shock spells, which I resist. That's good. But they've got a ton of magic spells, so I can't wait out their cast. That's bad. Although they stagger and fall to ground pretty easily. That's good. I'm over encumbered and I don't feel like resetting, so let's play some hard. Cast Divine Intervention. Drop all these divine elements and armor on the ground. I need them. They're just laying me down. Restore our stats at the Imperial Shrine before we call them back.
Within a week, he was filling out. I learned, once I did more research, that he did have an owner. He's a retired veteran, disabled. The dog was given to him, and then after 1 hour, he let off the leash.
Good luck finding a runway. Job done, Gaddis. A blessed spear for me is a
only 7 months old, so he was a puppy.
Oh, thank you. Next, we need to get arrows on.
He's constantly on guard, constantly looking over his shoulder,
Cornhold and
scared.
Copper City are some cool locations, but we spend most of the expansion
When 24 hours would go by and he would not come here, I started to get worried and panicked. Anxiety every day, knowing his mom was living in the woods. On trail cameras, we're picking up bears, coyotes. So I was very worried what would happen to him. But then he went out. I reached out to like the local authorities here, said I'd be happy to help capture him. Eventually we did set up a trap on the property, tried to lure him in with food, but he just would not go near it. So we started leaving the garage open for him. We wanted him to have a shelter. The first time face to face, he just looked at us and ran. He darted into the woods. It was just such a work in progress.
Skyrim developers knew we couldn't resist looting
After every day, the city is
so they added
suspiciously
this
attacked by
dialogue to
a
call
countless
us out. Here are a
strange
few
creatures.
unique conversations naughty players can stumble upon. During the quest Lost in the Ages, the Dragonborn will pick up the torch and overtake Catria's work to restore the Dwarven Ethereum hold. When first entering the Dwarven ruins, encounter Catria's ghost, who will direct us to a journal located on her lifeless body. But if we also loot all of her armor from her corpse, we'll get this unique dialogue.
Yep, this is an interesting hole.
Catria isn't the only one who will scold the Dragonborn for being naughty. We can also get an earful from Astrid during the Dark Brotherhood quest line. When you meet with Amon Motier to learn about his grand plans, he will present the Dragonborn with a council amulet and a sealed letter for Astrid. But what happens if the Dragonborn has a look at the letter before handing it over to the Dark Brotherhood leader? In this case, Astrid will call us out after giving us the contract for Victoria Beachy.
My citizen upon making the right choice. You may be an effective killer, but your command of guile leaves much to be desired. The sealed letter you delivered to me was responsible.
But getting hit correctly is easily a one-shot kill. Best of 11 Skyrim is not
But moving on to
I downloaded the worst Fallout once ever made, so you don't have to.
I'm trapped.
The first one I downloaded was called Taylor Swift Hit-Point Background Image. This mod very simply just adds a picture of Taylor Swift to the background of your Hit-Point. So if you ever feel like you're working enough Taylor Swift on your life, you can ever constantly get Fallout. The craziest part about this mod, however, is the person that made it is named Swift. This is the only mod they've ever uploaded to Nexus, and it was 2 days after Fallout 4 released. The next mod I downloaded is called Pygmy. This mod as you can see, this is just gray egg model here. You can see
I'm not addicted to Skooma Nerevar. I just, well, I like the way it is.
This mod replaces a bunch of food items in the game.
What if I die and I couldn't stop the weather?
There's a bunch of different flavors, and I'm not gonna lie, these models and textures actually look really, really good. All of these combine split intelligence with opportunity, which is pretty realistic, I'd say. If you like your Commonwealth character, I guess this mod's for you. Be sure to like and follow.
He sent me things behind her back, like her hair is too big, her fashion sense is like, yeah, and at the tribunal temper, like totally flawless. Gagging with a spoon. Seems the best way of handling the hand is to dodge the dart, put the gun on left, then back pedal on the stagger, then mid-range back up range, as long as I maintain this rhythm. The trouble is, I'm pretty accurate, but not 100% accurate. If I miss as he runs into attack, stagger him, I will. The Divine Spear would probably function better here, but axe bow. Man, look at all that. I'm taking Almalexia's warm, reflective wood. It's a 10-point fortified health. Seems like it'd go along the way, fortifying my armor skills, the slight paralysis. Now Almalexia Marcia wants us to reforge Proof Land, Nerevar's blade that was lost during the Battle of Red Mountain. So mysterious, the events surrounding Nerevar's death. There's a total of 3 blade pieces, and she gives us one. So we have one is held by Elsev's champion, Kara. The other is in the hands of our museum of artifacts. To get the latter, we need to donate 2 artifacts to the museum in exchange for a smaller battlefield, onto which we can use the Proof Land was wrapped. For one of the artifacts, we're actually going to leave one altogether.
Here it comes.
Forgotten by us, these Swedish dishcloths, they're reusable, and they're friendly, earth-friendly, so I can use a whole lot.
The second artifact for Thomas a reward object is a blade piece. Before we can fight Kara, Elstead wants to put an assassination on Kara's mother and son. Of course, the assassin was meant for me, sent by Elstead himself. He's the whole reason the Dark Brotherhood was attacking us in Barnstone in the first place. I read Mixed theory that Marway's Dark Brotherhood is actually the semi-gloss sky. A lot of Dark Brotherhood targets you have to go after during the Morai Tom quest line are endangered shrines. The structure of the Brotherhood is very different from what we're used to. Their Night Mother is just a woman who leads them. She's not some spiritual conduit to sinners. The Dark Brotherhood in Morrowind seemed more like a knockoff. They're what the Brotherhood would be if they were just pretending to be the Brotherhood. Considering how taboo it is to worship princes from the House of Troubles, it makes sense.
No, I don't think I will.
Why hide as illegal assassins?
Sure. Here are your song options. Nerevar's life with a micro-penis. Nerevar got a boner in gym class and had to sit out of dodgeball. The curious case of Nerevar's missing testicle. Nerevar's wail of a mother just died and no one came to the funeral. How to get 0 bitches by Nerevar. Serana won't marry me, so I, Nerevar, am a beta cuck to Molag Bal. Which one do you want to hear?
After defeating him, he gives us his shitty weapon, which is 1/3 of Truthful, and Elstead gives us the Dagger of Symmachus, the second artifact we'll donate to the museum.
I don't care what your last girlfriend did. I'm not doing that.
Return, which we can take to Yagak the Smith, and he prized the last piece of Truthful.
Welcome, Moon and Star.
We give him 2
Welcome.
days to reforge the blade anew, but it's missing the necessary fire check.
Real talk, though. You know you're my pookie. Right, Nerevar? Right?
Look for some hints within Van Zamshan.
Yeah, they got there.
We find the ghost of Radek himself, and he tells us in order to enchant the sword, we must retrieve for him high royal tar from Infor, a dangerous road located even further beneath these whoever roads. We need to kill the Dremora Lord cash register drawer to get a bottle of high royal tar. He's surrounded by several other Daedra, lesser Dremora, Golden Saints, and others, but we can bottleneck them through this run down architecture. They're all pretty easy to knock down too. That's the benefit of these beefy two-handed weapons. They're slow, but they've got a decent chance to knock enemies over, and they're usually still long enough to buy you an extra hit or two. I find it interesting that Cash here has a direct staff this time around instead of a dwarven spear. I wonder what the criteria are for what weapons bosses spawn. I assume it's got to do with climbing. Well, I'm a higher level now, so why is it a direct staff this time? And before it was a dwarven spear. Maybe a dwarven halberd.
You're facing the wrong way, lady.
Anyway, if we take the tar back to Radek's ghost, he'll imbue True Flame with True Flame. With sword in hand, even though we won't use it, Amalexia sends us off to the Clockwork City in order to kill Sodasil, the one responsible for the Fabrican attack on Mournhold, allegedly. She can teleport us to the Clockwork City, but she couldn't teleport down to the weather machine.
Maybe
Why
later
can't
we
she
can
just
show you
kill
some
Sodasil ourselves? Something's not adding up here. Make sure you kill the Fabricans in Oasis City. Don't just run past them. You need some of their juices for some of the health.
I'll do that.
And I just go to the biggest weakness of battle axes is that they make you overconfident. Were two-handed battle axes real weapons? I know there were two-handed swords like the Scion, and I know there were small one-handed axes that an archer might use if somebody gets a little too close. I think they also use falchions, which is kind of like an axe. I mean, it's a sword, but it's also like a very choppy sort of. I mean, it's more of a machete, really. It's a medieval machete. But it in the comments. Let me know. The Imperfect is a pretty tough enemy. A lot of health, can't be staggered, and it has a potent shock attack that also debuffs you with weakness to shock. Being ignored weakens the attack, making it not a one-hit kill, but the danger arises when I use the spell in quick succession, bleeding my health faster than my potion kill. I think the weakness effect doesn't actually affect the initial damage of the spell since the damage applies first. The weakness debuff lasts for 5 seconds, so to cast the spell again within those 5 seconds, then I take increased damage. Otherwise, it's just an unmodified chunk of shock damage. Time to fight Alexia. You can speed up her monologue by saving it. It forces her to start the next part of her speech. I'm doing this for those who are running out of mana when she casts the spell, so you don't take damage. I'm not going to do that. Her magic attack does a touch less damage than my entire health. 100 points of fire damage plus 40 points of absorbed health. I have 147 health, so I just barely hold on. There's also a uniqueness of fire component to the spell, but like with the Imperfect, I'm pretty sure it doesn't affect the initial damage of the spell. Because I can reliably stagger, by the time she can cast another spell, I've already healed up to full with potions, and the weakness debuff has worn off. As long as I keep the correct rhythm, she should stay stagger locked long enough for me to stay sick. Morrowind is a rhythm. The bigger danger is Hope Spell. I may resist its enchantment, but it's a strong sword regardless, and as Alexia is like level 100, so a direct hit. So close. She has a total of 3,000 health, and she heals for 40 health every time she hits me with her magic. I don't know exactly how much damage I'm doing with my axe, but I can try to estimate it. A full-powered attack with a bound battle axe creates points of damage. We multiply by a strength modifier, which is just 1% more damage per point of strength above 50. With 81 strength, we multiply by 1.31. The condition and critical hit modifiers are both 1, since our condition is always maximum, and we're not critically hitting. Armor can reduce damage by up to 75%, so without armor, I'm dealing at most 104 damage per charged attack. 26 if she has maximum armor. Long fight, to say the least. This whole explanation, and the fight's still not over. But with a little patience, we've killed our second villain, and then we can use Aerozar's Maze Band, loot from Alexia's corpse, to teleport out of the Clockwork City, and return to Mornhole, where Azora's waiting to give us another round. Onward to Solstheim. If you want to know the story in more detail, watch my Solstheim from Level 1 video, linked in the cards. There were 2 reasons for making those from Level 1 videos. They're challenging, so used, but they're also self-contained, so I can refer back to them for narrative purposes whenever I want. They just like reference material. So the beginning of the Blood Moon story is Claimant Day. Captain Fox wants us to find out why the soldiers are grumpy, give the soldiers some sujama, or any alcohol for that matter, and they'll tell us the captain banned alcohol. But the truth is, he actually didn't. The shipments just, quote-unquote, stopped arriving. And that's because the priest, in all his self-righteous glory, stole it and hid it away in his office. He promised not to knock on him and give us the key to his stash. With all that sorted, we can get on to the real meat of this. Weapons. We'll investigate the matter of missing weapons with Gaia Artoria because she's a better fighter than Sneas Lucius, and I have no idea how difficult fighting this mother will be. And after a bit of convincing, Xenofaustus points us to a Gendling cavern just outside the port. There are 5 smugglers there, all with enchanted weapons that paralyze on strike. Unlike a guy that's totally not a werewolf, I don't think I'll get killed in a single hit, so the paralysis will be a problem. The solution? Don't get hit. Well, I survived a hit, resisted paralysis, but I still died pretty much. I may be better equipped and higher than
This fight better get
this is
comfortable.
Good news is that my attack.
Under these nuts, puny and wild.
And he keeps blocking. How do I stay away from being shot by this sword? I should be fine. Listen, fellas, maybe we got off on the wrong. Ah, broke your shield. A few more hits should. Damn it. 3 down. 4 down. Time to move. He's stronger than the other smugglers. He's faster than the other smugglers, and he's longer. What do you mean? You're right. His attack rate. Longer than the other smugglers. Okay, so he's a little dumb.
Do you think I could gather enough of your vaginal discharge to construct myself a cream astronaut?
5 for 5. Back to Fort Frostmourne. And man, is it nice to have the Black Convention on Solstheim again. From anywhere in Solstheim. didn't go missing. The skull to the north might know something about the attack, and as a symbol of good faith, we're going to bring them the universal symbol of peace, a human skull. Huh. Since when did the Frizzahag summon ghosts? Maybe they did it on my previous run. Oh, is it because their daggers have frost on them, so they don't want to attack you with the daggers?
There's a
since they
few
know
more
the
hours
frost?
for one of these efforts.
My name is Dagoth. I'm 4,000 years old.
We've made it to the skull. Ignore the blood. Darcy Heartfang loves the skull. I was worried because I wasn't marrying out. He points us to Course Windpipe, the village shaman, who tells us to perform the ritual of gifts in order to restore the oneness of the land. Easy enough, right? Yeah, nope. There are 6 rituals, some are harder than others, but I'm certain I'll have an easier time this time around than last time. We'll start with the beast. Rescue the good beast from being killed by a bunch of rinklings. If you don't kill the rinklings fast enough, the bear will die, and I guess the quest is soft-locked and you have to reload the save. Fortunately, this is little more than a slaughter. There we go. Pull the arrow out of the good beast, rest up it, and return to the beast stone. Ritual of the beast. Twin stone. We got a bundle of the greedy man, twin sack, and Glenshaw's tomb. This played was a nightmare during my level 1 run, and was the impetus for a 4th wall break, which I pretty thought was a face reveal, even though I've been showing my face on this channel for 2.5 years, but a lot of you are new, so, yeah, I have alopecia, that's why I look the way I do. I also learned that I look like a lot more people than I realized. I should make a tier list. Anyway, will this build fare better? Cool, but why? So, it turns out Draugr aren't all that strong. Even a little bit of bound armor makes their attacks reasonably quick. They're still nightmarishly fast, though. Everything in here is empty. You can stroll out like the octopus. But why walk when you can be calm? Ritual of the Wind. Sunstone. You must free the warm sun from the halls of Penumbra. A cavern full of Draugr with a growl at the very end. I'm feeling pretty confident, honestly. I hate growl. Oh my god, why is it so fast? Wow. Ooh, it knocked it over. Can I finish it? Shit. What the hell was that? There, dead. Doesn't bode well for Castle Karstack. Ritual of the Sun. The Tree Stone. He who has the seeds controls the trees. I must retrieve the seeds of the first trees and plant them near the tree stone. After killing the Ringling, you could just take the seeds and be on your way. The Spriggans will stop attacking you, but because you have to kill a Spriggan 3 times before they stay dead, it's a pretty good axe execute, so why not kill them? Also, chopping down Spriggans with a battle axe is peak immersion. Ritual of the Trees complete. Earthstone. Travel to the cave of hidden music and learn the song of the earth. What can I say? Draugr aren't actually horrendously overpowered monstrosities against them, though. They're just a bunch of weak bags of bones. What made the last run so difficult wasn't the soul stem itself, it was the fact that I was a tiny little wood elf with a pivotal crossbow. Now that we're through Draugr, we just gotta make the stalactites part the right pitch. Excellent. Ritual of the Earth complete. Waterstone. We must... Oops. The combat may not be as hard this time around, especially if you're prepared, but Solstheim is still deadly if you aren't paying attention. Gotta keep your eye on the stove. Waterstone. We must travel out to sea and acquire the water of life. We have potions this time around, so drowning shouldn't be too much of an issue. We also have enough health to survive for about a minute without air anyway, so we're in good shape. See? And there's the water of life.
Have some water of life. I'm thirsty.
Ritual of water complete. That's all 6 rituals, and as a reward, Karstack gives us the Mace of an A-Bar Stone Singer. One of the strongest weapons in the game. It's a one-handed mace that can do up to 90 damage, double against enemies. Stronger than even Sunder itself if you go by raw damage numbers. Perhaps even if you go by cooked damage numbers. Next, we got a slot of crime to prove our wisdom to this skull. It's easily deduced when we find a letter from Rickmore to Risi, Engar's wife, outlining a clear move. When confronted, Rickmore spills everything. He tried to frame Engar for theft, to force Engar into exile so Risi could be rudely simple appreciates us rejecting a gift immediately. I'm also going to drop all this other crap that's weighing me down. True Flame, Hope's Fire, and the Skull crap. That Mace alone weighs 90 weight units. Now it's time to Skull test our strength. As if it weren't clear how beefy and tough I am. It's glistening arms. We got a draw reward with the end of the leg, and it's about time somebody will stop his dastardly deeds. Making a fifth fire on A-slip, or perhaps E-slip, is at the end of these Dragon-filled tunnels. When we confront him, he tells us of his long and tragic
The universe, it sings for me. What a grand and intoxicating innocence.
Although the Solomon still is the immune from dark forces to extend his life, becoming a dragon so he could maintain the barrier keeping the Daedra at bay, protecting the skulls who so villainized him. Such a noble act, to voluntarily imprison yourself within these walls of ice, all to protect the people, giving you nothing more. E-slip's dead. Back to Starship. Oh my, werewolves are attacking the Skull Village. The climactic second act. Quick, get the werewolf. Alright, got the mind. I'm gonna go back to where you were doing. Oh, right. Wait a minute. I think I just messed up. Yep, got a werewolf with me. That's a problem. I'll employ the same strat I used in Werewolf Sewers. Levitation. Squeeze through, damn it. Yes. Hey, I survived a hit from a werewolf. Cool. Ah, of course. Arrived just in time. I'm infected, you said. 0 days. Whatever will I do? Alright, Chorus, we'll go. We must perform the Restog in order to please the Allmaker. And the first step in performing the Restog is acquiring the totem of Claw and Fang from the Tomb of Skalara. If we went the werewolf path, we have to defend the totem. As soon as we enter the tomb, we're immediately assaulted by 4 werewolves. I could try killing them by cutting them around in a tight circle, or I could just try and make a run for it. Ah, shucks. The key is to know where the hell you're going. Why am I bothering to attack them? Why am I being cheap? Let's just try killing them in the tomb's foyer. Well, it wasn't easy. It wasn't really hard either. It's mostly just tense, since one hit from him is probably enough to kill me. The chest containing the totem has a level 30 lock on it, and I could just try to snipe pick it while I'm